on YouTube. Bear with me. You're just a slight bit early. I got to do one more stream and we'll be up and running momentarily. So we're talking about President Trump going nuclear. We're going to talk about. Let me just go ahead and put it in. We won't spoil the actual program. Um, so give me about 60 seconds here, and we should be good to go. This is kind of the when you're doing multiple streams. This is kind of what happens. Good evening, Jerry. Welcome to the program. We should be up and running in about 60 seconds or so if everything goes as planned. Everything's on. Want to make sure everything is on. What do you call it? Wi-Fi, and we should be able to get the party going. Assuming sometimes when these devices been sitting up, they get kind of cold and they don't want to work right. Let's see here. What is it? Good evening, me 22. Um, there we go. We're gonna just do that, and I think everything else is ready. So we'll get the streams going. Make sure I am on Wi-Fi so that we don't have any buffering and all that other bullshit. And it looks like everything is good. So, having said that, yep, looks like everything's good. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started in three, two, one. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal, depending on who you ask. This is the 34th day of the government shutdown. Now, some would argue it's the Democrats' shutdown. Others would argue it's done by President Trump and the Republican Party. I'll leave that up to you in regards to who you think is responsible for the government remaining shut down. But both sides are saying it's your fault, not mine. Both sides are putting it on the other side, indicating that the government would not be shut down if it wasn't for the other party. So I guess we'll end up discussing who you think is at fault for this. But it does appear as if we're going to be entering the longest shutdown in U.S. history tomorrow, because right now this is the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. Tomorrow, thank you, Wisdom Karasi. Last night was a great show. Appreciate that. We'll try to see if we can mirror that this evening. Thank you for the input and compliment. Appreciate that. So tomorrow, or better yet, today, this is the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. Tomorrow, it ties as the longest shutdown of the government in U.S. history. You already know likely who is responsible for the longest shutdown in U.S. history. That's President Trump's first term. So President Trump is about to beat his own record and just literally switch his second longest with his first longest. I mean, he's responsible already for slot number 1 and 2, but it looks like slot 2 is about to surpass slot number 1. And I'm going to give you my humble opinion on this. I don't think this is going to end anytime soon. So the longest shutdown is 35 days. That is tomorrow. This is easily going to be in the 40s, I believe. I believe this is probably going to go in the 40s because it's at a stalemate. Trump is not bending, the Democrats are not bending, et cetera, et cetera. Someone, I suppose, will bend eventually. Many suggest it'll probably be the Democrats, but right now it's not happening. So, likely to be the longest shutdown in history by several days. This could easily enter the 40s, 50s, and beyond the way things are going. So, what I want to talk to you about, we always come with receipts and things of that nature. Today is no exception. This is something that has been pushed by President Trump that it's worthy of discussing.
To change the rules in the Senate to reopen the government. Trump posting overnight, it is now time for the Republicans to play their Trump card and go for what is called the nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster and get rid of it now. The move would...
So and I can play the rest of the clip, but you kind of know what the nuclear option is. Once you get rid of the filibuster, you don't need 60 seats. You can do it just with a simple majority. The reason I'm playing it, and I'm sure you've heard that already, the reason I'm asking this question is if the Republican Party actually has an option, whereas they can get the government back open and they don't need any Democrat input at all, they can do it solely by themselves. Is it right when they say that the government is shut down due to the Democrats? They actually have a way of doing this all on their own without any Democrat input at all, and they're choosing not to do that. They're choosing not to use the nuclear option when that option is available. So they don't need the Democrats to do this. President Trump is making it clear, I want you to use the nuclear option. So what I'm asking is, if they're choosing not to use a method they have available to get the government back up and running, is it accurate when they blame this on the Democrats? Because they're choosing not to use an option they have available. So I do want to hear from you folks on that. They don't have 51 in the Senate. I believe, what do you mean they don't have 51 in the Senate? Yeah, they do. They do have the majority in the Senate. That's where J.D. Vance comes in. J.D. Vance would be the tiebreaker vote, just like Kamala Harris as VP broke some ties during the Biden administration. So if it's a tie, J.D. Vance becomes the tie-breaking vote. So low MTB, they actually do have the majority in the Senate as well. But I believe they have more than just. They have more enough votes where they don't even need J.D. Vance, if I'm correct. They have more than enough senators to do this. So I'm asking a simple question. If they actually have the ability, using the nuclear option, to do this all by themselves, is it accurate to be blaming it on the Democrats when they can actually do it without them? So we're going to talk about that. This next topic is likely going to be controversial. We've talked about this 100 times. Nevertheless, President Trump was interviewed on CBS's 60 Minutes yesterday. And this is something that comes up anytime you put a microphone in front of President Trump's face. And last night was no different. In fact, I'm not even going to play the video. I'll just go ahead and tell you what happened. Once again, he claimed during the 60 Minutes interview that he won the 2020 election by a landslide. He claims that he won the 2020 election by a landslide, indicating that the Democrats, by way of Joe Biden, stole the election from him. I want to ask, first of all, this will be the 6th year. 2026 will make 6 years come November next year. This will make 6 years. We're about to enter the 6th year since that election was held. Held January 6th, and all of that melee has been 5 years ago in January. I'm asking the question, if Trump is claiming that he won the 2020 election by a landslide, why has he provided so little evidence nearly half a decade later? Okay, you won the election by a landslide. Where is the evidence? Why has he provided so little proof to convince the American people? Nearly 5 years later, he's still claiming this stuff. Leading to the question, is it possible that he has some form of 2020 election derangement syndrome or something of that nature? Why is he still claiming he won the 2020 election? Can somebody explain that? Because obviously he has not provided solid proof or evidence. And in addition to that, I saw somebody posted this in the comments, but I do want you to hear a clip if this is queued up, because this also should be taken into consideration. And this is President Trump himself, not caught on the hot mic, but he actually said this. Now, it's played on MSNBC. I know how my beloved MAGA do not favor MSNBC, so be it. But it's President Trump's stating this himself, so I thought it is worthy of playing no matter what network it's on.
Before the 2024 election, Donald Trump has finally admitted that he did, in fact, lose the 2020 race to now President Joe Biden.
I became president, and then the second time I got millions more votes than I got the first time. So I was told if I got 63 million, which is what I got the first time, you would win. You can't not win. And I got millions of more votes than that, and lost by a whisker.
Lost by a whisker. We should.
So
No.
there is an actual video of him admitting he lost by a whisker. Now, most of you folks have seen that. That's not a new video. That video is about a year old or more. But why is he still stating he won by a landslide when there are videos out there of him actually saying he lost? What is he trying to do? What is he trying to say? Why is he still trying to suggest he won the 2020 election by a landslide while providing no evidence or proof at all? I do want to get your opinion on that because I'm baffled at this case. I'm baffled at this point, other than some form of crazy election derangement syndrome or something of that nature that the president must possess at this point. 2020 election is a long time ago at this point. Why even keep bringing it up? You're not going to you're not going to rewind history. They're not going to throw out Biden's term. I don't know. So what do you expect? Why keep bringing that up? It's becoming like a broken record at this point. Why is he bringing that up? Last but not least, as you see on the monitor behind me, Mamdani is running for mayor in New York. I think everybody has heard about this now. President Trump came out today or yesterday, I believe, and endorsed his adversary, which is Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, stating that if he has a choice between a bad Democrat and a communist, he's going to pick the bad Democrat every time. Now, Mamdani smartly, if that's the proper word for this, but Mamdani, who is a pretty good campaigner apparently, was smart enough to use that and tell the folks of New York, this shows that you don't want Cuomo as the mayor. I mean, Trump has made it clear he would prefer this guy. I mean, obviously New York being a liberal city, so he's now aligned Cuomo with President Trump, and that's not good for Cuomo to get it endorsed. I mean, that would be like if you're running for the Republican Party and all of a sudden Nancy Pelosi endorses you. That's not a good endorsement to receive. So shout out to Mamdani for doing it. But I want to ask a more deeper question, because this is something the Republican Party is tying to the Democrats. Simple question. Do you believe that Mamdani, if he is victorious tomorrow, which he is highly expected to be, do you believe he is the face and the future of the Democratic Party? Many on the right are saying that this guy, as mayor of New York, is somehow the face and future of the Democrat Party. I just want to get your opinion on that and what you think of Mamdani, because he is a controversial politician in the least because of his, because of his affiliation, saying he's a socialist. He's come out and admit that, very similar to Bernie Sanders. But in addition to being a socialist, he's also a Muslim, and he makes no qualms about that. Just like with Obama, his name. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for a red-blooded, patriotic American to go after this guy. So I do want to bring it up and see what your stance is on that. See, Arshafat, so you said you hope that Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party. We'll have to talk about this. So looking in the comments right off the bat, and just make sure you guys know how the program is read. Tonight we're on X, Instagram. Tonight we're on X, YouTube, and TikTok. So tonight we are on X, the Handsome Lib on X, YouTube, the Handsome Liberal, and the same on Facebook. Feel free to follow us on X if you will. I'm kind of figuring out the way X works, but we're going to be on X Live as well. We're verified on X now. We are MAGA friendly, been that way since day one, always will be. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. Our commentary goes left of Bernie Sanders to our having dinner with Q. We believe in letting everyone speak without censorship, regardless of your political opinion. You can be critical of anyone on this program, including yours truly. That's how it works. So looking in the comments, Mamdani will finish digging the grave for the Democrat Party, says Tigress. Wow, that bad. That bad. So you believe that the Democrat Party is essentially, if not dead, at least on life support. Yikes. No face of democracy since democracy went out the window. By democracy, says Marissa Michelle. You really believe democracy's gone? You think the republic is no longer here, huh? Wow. Handsome Stubby Finger says, in the words of Chris Tucker, whoop his ass, Mom Donnie. That's Trump scared. Wonderful. Trump ain't shit, says Mom Donnie. Wow. So you think, well, listen, I mean, we are talking about a mayoral race, though. So we're talking about something that's a little bit down in the weeds so far. But that doesn't mean that Mom Donnie can't essentially run for higher office in the future, Congress, Senate, and on and so forth. So, but you do say Trump ain't shit, huh? All right. So, looking in the comments, it's the people that keep democracy alive, not the politicians. Well, if you put in the wrong politician, you can take your own part in destroying it as well, Arsha. So, looking in the comments real quick, like when the Joker asked Batman, if you ever dance with the devil, MAGAs would say yes. Yikes. Going straight to the comments, or better to the box, we'll start out with the Honorable Arsha. Arsha Fine, good evening. Now, I'm going to ask you right off the bat, in regards to this whole nuclear option thing, if the Republican Party now has the ability, or they're admitting rather, that they have the ability to use the nuclear option where they can get the government back up and running without any Democrat input, if they can do this on their own, is it accurate to say that the shutdown is Democrat related? Because they don't need the Democrats to get it back open.
No, I would say it's Republican related. If you have a president who's not willing to have the Democratic representatives of basically his people, right? They are the people, Congress. It is what it is. We don't have to like it, but they are representatives of the people. If he's not willing to bring them in and have a conversation, then he's not the great debater or deal maker that he projects himself to be. Because you have to have both sides come to the table.
I was always told when Trump got elected, one of the reasons we cheered him getting elected is he's a businessman and we needed the country to be ran like a business, and he is a great negotiator. Sounds like you're saying the opposite.
No, well, because if anybody looked at his freaking business record, they'd realize he was bankrupt most of the time.
I don't know.
He's no Ross Perot. Okay, remember when Ross Perot ran?
Yeah.
He was a truly successful businessman. He didn't have a bankruptcy. He didn't have 7 bankruptcies. He wasn't hanging out with predatory males. He wasn't, anyway.
Well, I mean, listen, Trump.
That we know of, Tim.
Yeah, I get it, but listen, Trump was a philanderer. He was hanging around the Playboy Mansion and things like that. I mean, he was a playboy, whereas Ross Perot was more a traditional kind of guy.
Okay, you hanging out at the Playboy Mansion doesn't mean you're successful. That just means you know the right people.
Depends on what your definition of success is.
And like I said, it means you know the right people, Tim. If you knew the right people, you would have been hanging out there too.
I'm just gonna say it's a whole lot of dimes. It's a whole lot of dimes hanging out at the Playboy Mansion. That is success to a lot of men. If you hanging around that mansion, you've reached the pinnacle of success.
Well, if you know the right people, you're going to be invited to a Playboy party.
Okay, but I got a tough pushback for you. This is coming from Mr. Bond on YouTube. He says, he's got buildings all over the world, bitch. What do you have? He says, that's what I thought. So he's suggesting your statement that Trump is not a successful businessman.
Okay. Let me respond. 1, I got morals and integrity. 2, I am perfectly happy. I'm sitting out here in my backyard of my house. I got my 2 beautiful boys in the back. My husband's gonna be coming home soon. I got a dog, 2 cats. I got it, man. So don't tell me. I don't want what Trump has. If I have to get it that way, no, thank you. It doesn't go with that.
But
I
he's
wanna-
pushing. Wait, but he is pushing back on your claim that Trump is not a successful business. Now you're talking about the happiness index, what you're talking about, the American dream, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
He's talking about a
Okay,
successful
I think
businessman.
the great thing about America is that you can claim bankruptcy. And he has used that, and it's not a dig. It's not me just like picking on him. It's just facts. And yeah, slapping your name on a building when people put I wish I could put my last name's Fine. I want Fine on all the buildings in all the world. But it's not going to happen because nobody's going to pay me for that because he's,
So let me ask you like this: in your opinion, is Trump is Trump a successful businessman?
Yes, he's successful.
Okay.
Look where he is. Do I agree with the way he got it? Fuck no. Do I believe he has morals? No. Do I believe he has integrity? Absolutely not.
Why do you say he has no morals?
He has never cheated on a single one of his wives.
Every one of he hasn't cheated on Melania, has he?
No. Yeah. Well. I'm sorry. Wasn't Stormy Daniels on trial?
She did say something like she walked past her bedroom in his house or
Okay,
something
so
like that.
let's just keep it clear. As long as he's got the thing is lifting, he's poking something. Anyway.
But in defense of Trump, he does flat out state he never slept with Stormy Daniels.
Well, my husband would say the same thing. If I had them, he'd be like, I did not. We've all heard the Shaggy song. It wasn't me.
So are you suggesting you don't believe the president?
No, I don't believe the president because of his track record. And he uses his own words. Okay, I want to go back to I don't want to miss this because this is very important, I feel like, for America right now.
Okay.
And
someone named Diddy in the comments is claiming that you live off of your rich husband.
Oh, we are not rich. Are we rich? My son, he's like, no.
I just, like I said, it's an uncensored program. We get some wild comments, but go ahead. What were you about to say?
I am not rich. We're not always hungry, right? I got my 12-year-old next to me.
Fair enough.
So anyway, what I want to say about Mondani, I thought that it was very upsetting that, I don't care if a president endorses a candidate or a senator or a House of Representatives or whatever, but to threaten the city of New York.
What do you mean when he said he wouldn't be able to give him money or something like that?
No, he's like, if he's elected, if you elect this man, I mean, I don't know it verbatim, but I will cease funding to New York City.
Yeah.
And that, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have the freedom to vote. We have the freedom and the privacy to vote without we're supposed to, at least, without intimidation. And, if he would have just said, I endorse, Cuomo, I wish you the best luck, that would be great. That's normal.
Why do you think he has such a hard on for Mamdani then? Why do you think he's saying all this stuff?
Have you seen Mondani? Do you know what what melanated skin that man has?
He's on the screen behind me. He looks like a decent looking guy. I mean, what's wrong with him?
He's a Muslim, and you know how he feels about Muslims, and he wants,
But Trump doesn't hate anybody. MAGA doesn't hate anyone. At least that's what they say. There's no hatred from Trump and MAGA. Are you saying otherwise?
Okay, I would like to ask every person that happens to be MAGA on your show. Please type in the comments and Tim can read them off. Would you vote for this man, yes or no, and why not?
Well, I'm not gonna answer the question for them, but I already know what they're gonna say. But the question my guest is asking is, would you vote for Mamdani as a politician, and if not, why? I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but go ahead, Arsha.
But we, people are like, we need young people. You know, we don't need anybody in Congress anymore that could actually be in a senior living home. We need young people of all diversities, of all backgrounds, because that is who America is. And if you don't like that, move somewhere where everybody looks like you.
Mm. Well, and by the way, the
I
comments
mean,
are
in my opinion, if you don't like the melting pot and the diversity of America and what we hope to strive for ethically, and
but
even though it could
they're
be a
not
fantasy.
saying that. No, nobody on the right is saying they don't like diversity or any of that. They're not saying that.
Why are we eliminating DUI? Why are we saying colonels and people of heads of state, they were a DUI hire
But first of all,
they're
you
gone.
mean DEI, not DUI. DUI is driving
Yeah,
under the
sorry.
influence.
I swear I'm not drinking. I just want
Okay.
some weed.
Well,
So let's keep it
they
in.
don't
Anyway.
they don't like DEI because they believe DEI is nothing short of a different version of racism, where you're giving a position or a position of power or a job or whatever the case may be to someone solely based on their skin color or their gender or sexual orientation.
Okay, so this is my question. What is the opposite of diversity?
Lack thereof.
Conformity.
Yeah.
What is
Okay.
the opposite of equity or equality?
Well, the opposite of equality is inequality.
Exactly. What's the opposite of inclusive?
Exclusive.
Exactly. So why in the world would any human being want something than other diversity, equity, and inclusiveness? Because if you switch it around, that sounds like a really horrible, biased, racist world.
Well, they believe DEI is horribly biased in favor of everything but white males. They believe it excludes white males.
You know what? Maybe the white males need to study harder. Maybe stop giving them such a pass. It's like, oh, these poor white kids. No, you know what? Black kids, brown kids, Asians, they work their asses off. The difference is now Franklin isn't going to be chosen over Jamal, even though Jamal has better grades.
So let me ask you this, because in the comments we were.
That is just common sense.
Well, common sense is not always common to everyone. You may be viewing it differently, but I want to ask you this because I did pose the question that many are suggesting that Mom Donnie may be the face of the Democratic Party. You said you hope he is. Am I correct? Did you not say that in the comments?
I did. And the reason I said it is, I would love to have a Jeffries or some of those young people down in Tennessee, or just anybody. We need to get out of senior living with the Democratic Party.
Even if it's someone that is an open socialist?
We are a socialist country, despite what people think.
We are a
Medicare,
capitalist country with some socialist protections.
I know, we have some socialism in it, but when people want socialism because it benefits them, they're going to be very happy about it, like Social Security checks, Medicare, all these things. Maybe you don't think about it when you're 20 years old, but I just turned 51 and I'm like, holy shit, like, I got my AARP card. I'm living the dream.
So let me ask you, do you personally want socialism? Cal, thank you. Do you want socialism yourself?
I want what is best for the American people.
You got to elaborate on exactly what is that. Because that's gonna vary depending on the individual you speak to. So I want to hear your version of what's best for America.
Not living paycheck to paycheck, not having food insecurity, whether you're on SNAP or going to the thing, being able to pray the way you want, being able to dress the way you want, and kids being able to go to school and not worrying about getting shot. That's what I want.
So how do you plan to make it so that children, and James Phillips, thank you for the super chat. How do you plan on making it so children can go to school without worrying about getting shot? What would your solution to that be?
I don't know, Tim, but there has to be something, because doing nothing isn't working. And that's what we're doing, is we're doing nothing. We have to do something. I have children. I have a freshman in high school and I have a 7th grader, and they do drills. I did drills for like an earthquake or a fire. And I can't even imagine anybody that thinks, oh, that's just the way it is. This is not normal, people. Kids should not be trained to not die.
Ooh. I do have to move it on, but the last question I want to ask you is, which party, if that was your biggest concern, not wanting children to be at risk of death while at school, which party do you think might be more favorable to coming up with a solution for that?
Well, that's a no-brainer, Tim. I don't even need to say it. It's the D.
How is it a no-brainer? I don't get that.
Democrats. It's a Democratic Party that might at least put a little bit of brakes on things. And, George W. Bush, after Columbine, he banned semi-automatic, blah, 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 AR-15s. I don't think people understand that once we had a really good, all kinds of things happened with George W., but for a very long time, school mass unalivings were pretty chill. And then, Obama became president, and Congress, which was ran by the Republicans at that time, did not vote to keep that law in place.
Right.
And that's where we are now. That was a Republican president, a very conservative person who was like, this needs to not be in the hands of everyday citizens. And if we could just, I'm not saying take things away, but if the GOP is willing to accept that we have a mental health problem, we need to make sure that people with mental health problems don't have weapons.
I think they want to do that, but that's a whole different live. We'll talk about it at a different time. I got to move it on, Arsha. Thank you for coming through.
Tim.
Appreciate it. Good talk. Moving on with the program. By the way, tap the screen, get your gallon up to 20,000. You can make that happen. What do we always say? Let your thumbs not be lazy. The program is indeed, as always, MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome on the program as well. This is uncensored programming. You can be critical about anybody on this damn program, including yours truly. The topic we're asking about, in addition to talking about whether Mamdani is the face of the Democratic Party, we're also asking if President Trump can, or better yet, if the Republican Party can actually invoke the nuclear option, which is what they're referring to it as, and get the government back up and running without any Democratic assistance, is it accurate to suggest that the shutdown is a Democratic shutdown? They obviously have the power to do this without any Democrat input at all. So if you can do it on your own and you're choosing not to, is this indeed something that is the fault of Democrats? I do want to get your opinion on that. And of course, I'm going to ask that you tap the screen, get the likes on up to 20,000. We'll take the next caller. And of course, if you're watching on X or YouTube, give your boy a sub. We're here most weekdays.
This morning, President Trump is calling on Republicans to change the rules in the Senate to reopen the government. Trump posting overnight, it is now time for the Republicans to play their Trump card and go for what is called the nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster and get rid of it now. The move would allow Republicans to pass a bill to fund the government with a simple majority instead of the 60 votes currently needed. But Senate majority.
So they have a way of doing this without any Democrat input, but they're choosing not to do it. So is it accurate? That is the question we're asking. Is it accurate to suggest that this shutdown is a Democrat shutdown when you don't need the Democrats to do anything about it? So we're going to be talking about it. Looking in the comments, no, we are not rich, but the thing is, though, keep my wife's name out your motherfucking mouth. You're handsome stubby fingers. Good evening to you. You're talking like Will Smith. I remember ducking my head under the table for a nuclear explosion. John, yeah, us Gen Xers, during the Cold War and things like that. And now that President Trump is talking about testing nuclear weapons again, I don't think that'll come back, but I don't feel confident anymore because, they've had these different nuclear treaties and things like that to limit the amount of nukes the countries have. Tap the screen on TikTok. I really need you guys to do that. It'll help out the algorithm. I need to bring in more MAGA, et cetera, et cetera. Tap the screen if you're watching on TikTok. But with him starting to, suggest testing nuclear weapons, let's be clear. It's going to trigger other nations to say, if you can do so can I. If you can do it, so can I. If you're for some reason needing to test your weapons, and you as the United States as a superpower is indicating you no longer give a damn about the environment and nuclear waste and all of that stuff that it does to the groundwater and things like that underground, then you can no longer complain when other countries do things that may be destructive to the environment. So this could actually, not only could it lead to all sorts of reversing in regards to how the world view nuclear weapons, it could also lead to a reverse in how the world treats the climate. There have been different treaties and things passed to get other countries to address destroying the environment and things like that. If America starts blowing up nukes underground, you can't really say shit about what other countries are doing to the environment. So it could reverse a lot of that if we do end up exploding nuclear ordnance underground. In fact, I was watching a news clip out of Las Vegas, one of their local affiliates, ABC, CBS, or NBC, one of the ones you get on free TV. And that was one of the concerns they had, is because apparently back in the 50s, when we used to test atomic weapons out in Nevada, it gets in the ground, it gets in the groundwater and things like that, and it contaminates the environment for quite a ways away. So even if you're testing weapons out in the middle of nowhere, it's not guaranteed that eventually that stuff will not trickle by wastewater and things like that into the city of, say, Reno or Las Vegas or Laughlin or some of the other towns there. And as they pointed out, these towns have expanded significantly since the 1950s when they were testing nuclear weapons back then. So the towns are a lot closer to where this stuff would be happening. They showed the expected test area, and they're like, this stuff is not as far away. So he could contaminate things for the residents of Nevada. Looking in the comments, though, it's kind of gay to worship Trump like that. Who is worshiping the president, Max? Let me know. People need to think about the future. Trump won't be here for long, says Love Heart. Well, they're going to bask in the glory of Trump now. And Trump is one of those guys that is immortal. I think a lot of Trump supporters, my beloved MAGA, likely views Trump as someone that'll be here in spirit forever. The MAGA movement is going nowhere, I think they would suggest. Let me go back to the box. We'll continue on with Pobel 123. Good evening, Pobel. Welcome to the program. Why do you do that? It contaminates the soil. Vegetation won't grow, says Arlita. Well, this is what he's proposing. Pobel, good evening. Are you there, Pobel? He's watching the Cowboys. I don't have the game on right now, but I can hear it in the background. Okay, we'll continue on with the next caller, Dencal. Welcome to the show. Why do that? Okay, I seen that. Gangster Grandmother, you're not the only subscriber. Dencal, let me see if it brings you up. We're having a bit of an issue here. That's not the point. It's supposed to be used for things like the judges are saying, okay, you guys having a conversation with each other. Dencal, good evening.
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much at all. Good to have you back on. So is this a Democrat shutdown, as Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is suggesting, if the nuclear option is available to the Republicans on their own?
No, it's a government shutdown. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. Like, look, both sides are responsible. Whenever there's a government shutdown, that means one side is taking a position
Mm-hmm.
that's different than the other side and saying that we need to address this issue before we move forward. So saying it's either side is kind of misguiding people. But I understand what you're saying, but obviously the filibuster is written into law into this country. So saying that somebody could just go ahead and vote down the filibuster I think it would kind of change a whole lot of stuff in this country.
I don't disagree that the filibuster would be an unprecedented move, but we're in the era of Trump, didn't Cal? I mean, like, shit, now you want to complain about something that's going to be different? I mean, you've been doing all kinds of things, from accepting jets from foreign countries, tearing down parts of the White House. Now you want to say, well, damn, I don't want to do that. That might be a little different. This is what we have.
That was our position going into this election cycle. We were the ones saying get rid of the filibuster,
Right.
because it would have stopped a whole bunch of stuff that's going on right now. But what did the Democrats say? No, the filibuster was put in this position for a reason, because we did not want to just have supreme majority rule, because that way, look, everything would be going towards one specific parties. You know what I'm saying?
But let me ask you, now that we've seen what has happened, whereas the Democrats did not go by way of the filibuster, and we do have Trump in office, and Trump pretty much is immortal at this point, has the power to do pretty much anything he wants. If you could go back in time, would you want the Democrats to use the filibuster?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
I would. I would have liked for them to get rid of the filibuster and whatever they call it, pack the courts or whatever, assign enough Supreme Court justices to even the Supreme Court out. So it's not, they don't have, this super majority where everything that the right wants, they get. Because this country wasn't designed to they designed it to have multiple parties. It's a two-party system, but you also have other options. They rarely use it, but it's there.
So you would favor expanding what do we have? What is it? How many Supreme Court? 9 is it 9 justices?
9, yeah, 9.
Okay, so you would expand. You would actually pack the court at this point.
We could call it pack the court, even though that has a negative connotation to it. But people have to understand that the courts were designed when there wasn't even half of the amount of people we have in this country. The courts never expanded to represent the amount of people and amount of districts in this country.
Okay.
So we've been kind of stuck at 9, but there have been different times when we've had more or less. So we just stuck with this thinking that it's got to be 9 and that's it. I believe that the Supreme Court should have an even distribution and never be fully on one side.
So as opposed to expand, because there's no way to pack the courts without it being controversial, but I think what you would likely favor is some sort of a law. Let's say, like, for instance, Trump is responsible for 33% of the justices on the Supreme Court. 3 of them are his. Maybe some sort of law that limits how many justices one individual can put on there. I mean, because it's very possible he could end up putting it. Go ahead.
I wouldn't necessarily limit, because, I mean, 3 justices could be in an airplane crash and, they still need to be able to.
Well, you could have Congress. You could have other options. If 3 of them die at the same time, then you can do 2 and 1 goes. I mean, there are other ways to write it in the law where the president don't pick all of them.
Right. Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how that would work, but I don't necessarily want to constrain. We went through a constrainment of 1 simply by the speaker, or no, the head of the Senate saying we gonna wait until after an election. That should have been totally illegal.
That I absolutely agree with that. If you're president and it's time to make a pick, you get to, I don't care if you got only 10 hours left as president. If it's under your pick, you get to make a pick. You're talking about what Mitch McConnell did in preventing Obama from picking a Supreme Court justice by just simply holding the Senate up. Yeah, that is probably as close to an act of cheating as I can come up with. I don't. Yeah, that should not have been. And then, of course, when it was Trump's turn and he was even closer to the election, the same excuse they used to block
30
Obama.
days.
Yeah, they certainly didn't.
He
Yeah,
had 30 days. 30 days. He pushed through. What is it? Nominating consent. He pushed
Yeah.
through that in 30 days. Whereas the pick before, he said, let's let the people choose by choosing a new president. Like, that's cheating.
Yeah.
You can say it's
Yeah.
close to cheating. That was definitely cheating.
I don't have any way
When
to.
they asked him about it, he started laughing. He started laughing when they asked him about it.
Yeah, listen, I can play devil's advocate all damn day, but I have no way to defend that. That was cheating. Yeah, I mean, to come up with an excuse why Obama is too close to the election, and then when it's Trump's turn and he's even closer to the election, you suddenly find a way to make it happen. There is no
I mean,
defense for
almost
that.
a year, 11 months, man. 11 months he
Yeah.
withheld, and they had to operate with 8 justices. So let's not talk about how it's got to be 9. See, there's only got to be 9 when they got 6 of them and we got 3.
Yeah. That's kind of what's happening now with this potential release of the Epstein files, where they're basically preventing this woman from being sworn in. They're doing it. The Arizona
Right.
representative that they won't swear in, even though he clearly could do it, is kind of pulling a Mitch McConnell now. Speaker Johnson could easily swear because he swore somebody else in when the government was shut down, and his excuse was,
On his side.
yeah,
On his side.
right. And his excuse was, well, that person's family was here, and just made up.
He said, "Look, I'll do it as soon as the Democrats open
Yeah.
the government." Dude, you don't have to be. He has done recess appointments and ceremonies when Congress was not in session. It don't make sense. They suing him right now, but we know how slow the courts is.
Yeah,
My question is, like, I asked somebody that I know that's on the MAGA side about this situation, and I said, "Why do you think, why do you think they're not, because we know that Trump has the power to tell Mike Johnson today, swear her in, and y'all take a vote. We
Right.
know he has the power to do it. Why do you think he won't do it?" Well, because it must be some people that are more powerful than Trump, and then he doesn't want those people to be outed because they the ones who really rule the world. And then if it
That's a tongue
I'm
twister.
like, dude, Trump was supposed to be the guy who was supposed to get all of those people out of the way. Remember?
Well,
he was the guy.
fact is, it's not in Trump's benefit to swear in a Democrat. Why the hell would he want to do that? That's not in his benefit.
No,
That's
I'm
a
talking
simple
about-
answer. That's a
I'm talking
simple
about-
answer.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to ask a logical question to try to get a response, because you know these folks got an excuse for every damn thing. They gonna make up some shit right off of
Yeah.
right out of the sky. And I'm like, yo, what's up? What's up?
Okay. Yeah, I have no answer for that other than what you're saying. They're just trying to come up with whatever they can to defend the indefensible. But let me ask you this last question. President Trump was on 60 Minutes yesterday, and of course, leave it to Trump to say a lot of controversial things. And yesterday was no exception. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your count up to 20,000. I don't know. They playing with the algorithm.
Yeah, what's going on with the tapper?
I have no
I
clue.
come on here all the time, and I make it a point that I'm pretty much the top giver down there every night. I'm challenging some people.
I don't know. I'm at the
Step on up and support the program.
I'm tempted to move it onto a different platform and off of TikTok. But let me just say this though, in regards to President Trump in the 60 Minutes interview. Once again, he stated that he won the 2020 election by a landslide. Why is he continuing this? Well, let me ask it to you this way: why do you believe that it's nearly half a decade out and he has not provided ample proof to the American people to show his claims that he won? I mean, this This is 2026 will be 6 years since the 2020 election come next fall. Why has he not provided proof if he is so adamant that he won by a landslide? What say you?
He doesn't have any proof.
Then why is he saying it? Is he just lying?
You know not to ask me that question like that. Well, why does he do it? Like, why does he do anything? He had to do it. He has to do it. He has to keep perpetuating the lie because everything that happened on January 6th and all of the prosecutions he's doing right now depend on him saying the same thing. If he says, I know I lost, all of this shit goes away. Everything.
He actually did say that, though, didn't Cal? Yeah.
But he would have to say it in a court of law, which will never happen.
Well, first of all, he has immunity. The cases that have been dropped, I guess, unless you're indicating that they may start him up again in the future. But on his way out, he can always pardon himself. I mean, that's probably something he will do this time. He talked about and investigated doing it last time. I feel pretty confident that he's going to do it this time after all of the court cases he was involved in after leaving office. This time he's going to leave by pardoning himself. Not to mention this whole term he's had immunity anyway. But the point I want to make is nobody's asking him anymore who won the 2020 election. So why does he keep bringing it up on his own? Nobody's asking him about that anymore. He's bringing it up himself.
Yeah, but a lot of the court cases and stuff he's gone through, and his justification for releasing or pardoning all of those Jan 6ers, like all of that's based off of his big lie. Like he can't go, like he's told the lie so many times, he can never go back and say that because that takes away the excuse from all of his followers, from all of the people who follow him, who would give up their life savings to him. Like he was not gonna give that up. He's smart enough. He's not that intelligent in my eyes, but he's smart enough to know the people that he's got, the people that were there on January 6th who really believed him. All of those people right now, like MAGA Reacts and all of those people who really believe that he actually won, it would take away their excuse. It would take it away.
I don't know if MAGA Reacts. In fact, I know a lot of Trump supporters that love Trump, love what he's doing for America, but will readily admit, I don't think he won the 2020 election. A lot of MAGA do not believe he's telling the truth about that. Now, there are plenty that do believe he won the 2020 election, but I've talked to plenty of MAGA on the program that come out and say, nah, he didn't win. I mean, like I said, it's been almost 6 years. If you actually won, you should be able to show us something. You're in power now. You should be able to show us some evidence.
Dude, they say, I'm not sure, whatever, but a vast majority of them that I speak to say, yeah, there were some inconsistencies. There were some, like, they not gonna ever admit that, like, he just lost. You can take what they say, like, yeah, well, I'm not sure. They believe that there's a glimmer of hope. Some say he's still got the information. He's just waiting to show everybody. Like, if they don't understand that that's a crime, like if you have evidence for a crime and you don't release it, you become an accessory.
Ooh. Well, some folks say, look, there were missing 20 million votes. They go, well, what did that tell you? Or they're claiming that dead people voted, illegal immigrants were voting. Of course, you may have seen 2,000 Mules. I've seen it 6 times. We did many lives on it. Dinesh D'Souza, 2,000. I mean, they use some of that stuff to suggest here is plenty of material to work with to defend Trump's claim.
Well, you can look in the comments right now. MAGA React said, I say it's 50-50. And if he won, it wasn't a landslide. And then he says it was close. If it was a normal non-COVID election, he would have won. Like, this is that they gotta keep this molecule of belief that what he said wasn't a lie, and that all of their motivation to reelect him and to support him has something to do with him being robbed. They have to keep that inkling in there. They say the same thing. Well, I don't know if he won or not. I wouldn't say he won or whatever, but it was always a but.
So in other words, not only is Trump never going to admit he lost, you don't believe a lot of MAGA's never going to admit it either.
They never will. Look, some of them will go to their grave saying, "I did." Look, it was a bunch of inconsistencies. Like there's inconsistencies in every freaking election throughout the United States. It's going to be inconsistencies tomorrow when the city council votes here in my city. Like there's going to be inconsistency. But to say somebody lost or the election was stolen from them because they seen Dinesh D'Souza, which they have already proven that shit, the whole thing was bullshit. It's already been proven in a court. He had to retract all of the shit he said. They don't care about that. There was discrepancies. They'll tell you, oh, there was people in the alley in Detroit. They was dumping ballots. And there was, they had the toilet overflowed, and it did what they say about the two women. They had they was.
You talking about Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss passing around USB drives like their vials of crack?
All of that's been disproven. They don't give a damn. There was inconsistencies. There was ballot stuffing, mail-in ballots. All of that shit was wrong. But when he just won and people was mailing in ballots, they didn't have a damn thing to say about mail-in ballots. Nothing.
That is true. All right, then, Cal. I'll leave it at that. I'll talk about it on the other side, but I appreciate you coming through, man. And thank you for your support, as always. Thank you, man.
All right, take care.
Appreciate it. I don't know what's going on with the numbers on TikTok because all the other platforms are fine, but me asking you guys to tap the screen and that not happen, we should be at least at 30,000. You guys are a little bit lazy thumb, so that may have something to do with it. But anyway, looking in the comments, and I will follow up with my last caller. Here's the problem I have with Trump's claims that the 2020 election was stolen, or that MAGA saying that, you didn't see all the evidence and things like this. The problem is Trump supporters take into consideration anything that looks suspicious that may have helped Trump, but they ignore everything that looks suspicious that would have hurt Trump. So even if you're judging what doesn't look right about the 2020 election, you're not even judging it fairly. Like, for instance, the 20 million votes, what happened to that? That's something that showed that maybe Trump won. Well, what about the fake electors that, ended up getting arrested and charged? That shows that he may have lost. Or some of the things he said, like what my last caller was pointing out, Giuliani saying that they're passing around, USB drives like vials of crack, and he ended up having to pay those ladies like $88 million or something like that. Just made up a lie. That's also suspicious. That your own attorney, one of the main members of your own administration, is lying about the election. So if you're focused on, we need to hear all the evidence, part of that evidence is all the lies coming from Trump and the Trump administration as well. You can't just take into consideration evidence that may have helped Trump. You got to take into consideration evidence that would have hurt him as well. So how do you view all of that and walk away saying he won by a landslide? That's where it becomes problematic, because there is a lot of things Trump said about the 2020 election that are just either unproven or disproven, completely been disproven. Going back to the box, you cannot, going to the box. I saw you in the comments, MAGA Reacts, good evening. You elected, let's say, you're excited for fewer rights and higher prices. I guess you're certainly not talking to me. Why is he still saying this, MAGA?
I don't know why he's still saying it, but I know why I still believe it. It was a fucking close race.
And for some reason, TikTok just took the live down. I don't know why. We're going to leave it at that, because I don't know if it was playing games with the numbers or whatever. We're going to continue the program from what we have here. We're still on X and, of course, YouTube. And I'll fire up Instagram as well. But unfortunately, because of what happened, if you want to be a caller on the show, come on over to, and I saw somebody was asking me that. Okay. I saw somebody asking that if you want to come up and be live, you can come over to Instagram. I believe we're on X now. Follow us on X. If I can bring you up live, bring up callers live on X, I certainly will do that. I'm learning how to use X, but we are currently live on X and Instagram and YouTube. So I'm trying to figure out X, but TikTok went down for some reason. I don't know if talking about the election has something to do with it. For some reason, TikTok is TikTok operates under a heavy censorship, whereas you can talk about this stuff on the other platforms and it doesn't cause that problem. But for some reason on TikTok, you start talking about Charlie Kirk or something like that, and TikTok will take down the live. So we're just going to roll without it and look in the comments and give you folks a little bit more love in the comments just for tonight. You conservatives are trying to say college is a scam. Marissa, you guys defunded the Department of Education. Talk about being educated. LOL. Wow. What's the X account? The Handsome Lib. At the Handsome Lib, Bobby. We're currently on X. We're currently on YouTube, and we are currently on Instagram. Instagram is the Handsome Liberal. So you'll see the picture. You'll see my picture, whatever the case may be. We are verified on X, I believe. No, we dismantled it. Big difference. But what I was saying briefly before we go on to back to the comments is that if you're gonna take into consideration what happened with the 2020 election, you cannot ignore a lot of things that Trump really just Trump. You can't ignore a lot of things that he said, and I guess Giuliani and a few others, but I'm only mainly saying Trump because oddly enough, even though most MAGA believes that Trump may have won the election or it was suspicious, there is not one single member of Trump's first term, his administration on his first term, that says he won that election. From Mike Pence, Scaramucci, Omarosa, Ben Carson was on that administration. None of them individuals. Obviously, Ambassador Bolton, who is now up on charges. But I mean, there is not Attorney General Barr. Not one member of his own administration states that he won that 2020 election. Why is that? There needs to be held account for that. If he won the election, why would his own administration, who would have won along with him and all got to potentially serve another 4 years themselves, why would none of them back up his claims? There's not one member of Trump's first term, of his administration in his first term, that claims he won that election. That is very telling. That is very telling that nobody amongst his administration is saying that. So I don't know how that could be explained away. I've heard some MAGA suggest that his whole administration just decided to lie, which doesn't make a lot of sense because they would have won along with him and they all would have stayed in power. But yeah, no one on his administration, in addition to no one on his own administration, there's no Republican senators, no Republican governors, no Republican Congress. Maybe Marjorie Taylor. Let me see. Matt Gaetz was around, so Matt Gaetz may say it. I'm sure George Santos would have said it, but he wasn't around during Trump's first term. I'm sure George Santos will claim that Trump won the election because Trump just pardoned him. But there really is no one in the Republican Party of prominence that claim he won that 2020 election. There's really no one. Ted Cruz ain't saying it. Ron DeSantis didn't say it. There's no one that was claiming he won that 2020 election. That speaks volumes. Even in Republican states, the governors are not saying he won. Are they all just lying? None of them seen the evidence either? Just MAGA, just the regular MAGA citizens. Them the only ones that seen the evidence. I don't know. But agreeing with Trump gets you a pardon. Yes, that is true, Caesar. That is absolutely true. Agreeing with Trump, being favorable to Trump Trump definitely rewards loyalty. So if I'm P. Diddy, I'm wearing Trump hats. I'm in prison getting a Trump hat on my arm. Anyway, looking at the comments, what happened in America in 1929? You're talking about the Great Depression. Are you suggesting we're headed that way? Careful, you're gonna love some MAGA followers or lose some MAGA followers. MAGA loves free speech. Why would MAGA followers abandon this stream because of free speech? You don't, unless you're suggesting that only reason MAGA tunes in is you have to agree with them. Fact is, there's a lot of things that MAGA or Trump does and says that might be worthy of agreeing with. And then, of course, there's things he says that is not worthy of agreeing with. The guy isn't perfect. Weeda Rabble says the person who won is the person trading the oath at noon on January 20th. I agree with you on that. But Trump is adamant that the 2020 election was stolen from him. So be it. Looking in the comments though, and like I said, we're currently on Twitter, and I do see many of you folks are switching over to that. I appreciate you guys coming over. I'm learning how to use Twitter, or better yet, X. X, I guess, is the name of it. I'm learning how to use it and how to take calls if possible. But it's a huge learning curve. I have not got to understand it just yet, so work with me on that. We're currently on Instagram as well. But looking in the comments, people saying something makes it true or false. No, it does not, but it is something to question. Why would your whole administration fail to claim you won the election? Even your Attorney General Barr, who is your top cop, his job is to look into claims of fraud. He has the whole federal government behind him. So if you're claiming, polling places cheated or whatever, he can use the power of the subpoena in the courts to get down to the root of things and actually prove your evidence to be true. Attorney General Barr, in his book, it's over here somewhere, I have it. His book, One Damn Thing After Another One. In his book, Attorney General Barr, he states Trump's claims of election fraud were quote unquote bullshit. This is Trump's own attorney general, the guy who would be responsible for looking for ballots in the lakes and dead people voting. This is the guy you would tell, go find this shit and prosecute people who are voting illegally. This guy, after serving on Trump's term, wrote a book claiming that Trump's election fraud claims are bullshit. There's nothing liberal about that guy. Why would he say that? So all of this, if you're going to take things into account, if you're going to review the evidence, you also got to take him into account. This was a highly, quote unquote, highly respected member of the Republican Party. This guy's been working with the Republican Party since Reagan. Do you just dismiss him because he disagrees with Trump? Somebody explain that to me. But he actually stated that Trump's claims of election fraud were bullshit. So there you go. So that certainly is something worthy of discussing. A handsome question for you. Whatever happened to Mike Pence? Can you respond to that question? Same thing that happened to many of the Republicans that went against Trump. They became unwanted, so to speak. But Mike Pence is another one. If Trump won the 2020 election, Mike Pence would be the first to tell you, yeah, because he would have, his whole career got destroyed because of that. If Trump had won the 2020 election, Trump could have served a second term, and possibly Mike Pence could have followed him up, as opposed to now it being J.D. Vance. But Mike Pence refused to follow Trump down the rabbit hole of saying he won the election, so he did not do it. Looking in the comments, and by the way, folks, I appreciate you guys rolling with me. It's more of a comment-only show tonight because for some reason TikTok went down. That's because they were being cowards and they wanted to disgrace themselves. They wanted to distance themselves, rather, from Trump to get reelected. All I can say is look at them now. I don't see. I'd have to see. I think it says Barney Fife or something like that. You're telling me the entire, virtually, you're telling me everyone on Trump's first administration are all cowards, and they all wanted to distance themselves from Trump to get reelected. Simple question, based on what? Ben Carson wanted to distance himself from Trump to get reelected? Ben Carson couldn't tell us the election. Attorney General Barr, this guy had no intentions of running for anything. This guy ain't trying to run for reelection. What are you talking about? Ambassador Bolton, he wasn't trying to run for any high office. I don't buy into that. What are you saying? You're saying his whole administration, they're all cowards? I'm going to submit to you, if Trump won the 2020 election and there was proof of it, there would be members on his administration that would tell you the truth. And there would certainly be Republican governors, senators, and members of Congress that would be telling you the truth as well. There's almost a void among conservatives in power suggesting that Trump won the 2020 election. None of them are saying, you think the whole Republican Party is cowards? That's a bit strong. As opposed to just simply saying maybe this one dude ain't telling the truth. Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to distance herself. Now insider trading will be her downfall. Frank, I don't totally disagree with you at all on that. Well, I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to distance herself from Trump. The problem is if you disagree with Trump, many take that as distancing yourself. She don't like the way he's handling healthcare because it is something that affects her family directly. Other than that, she's all over the place saying she has no apologies for supporting Trump. She's saying that she still supports him. She was on what was she just on? Because she was just on damn, I cannot think of the program she was just on. She's going to be on The View coming up. She's going to be on The View tomorrow. I don't know, many of my beloved MAGA, I know you guys don't watch The View, but Marjorie Taylor Greene will be on The View tomorrow. She was on another program I just seen, and I thought she did very well. She was on Bill Maher. She was on Bill Maher. And obviously Bill Maher leans left. And she did very well on Bill Maher. She said that. She said, I still support Trump. I helped him get elected. I like what he's doing. She said, but in regards to healthcare, she does not like what he's doing. The problem is if you criticize Trump in any way, fashion, or form, a lot of MAGA think that alone is you either being disloyal or you're distancing yourself from him. You should be able to criticize your leader. And this is why I often say that the Republican Party would never have tolerated a Joe Manchin or a Christian Sinema like Biden did. That person would be a straight up traitor in the Republican Party. But if you don't agree with him, you should be able to say something. Because Liz Cheney has really been ostracized by the Republicans, and she agreed with Trump like 95, 96% of the time. She was super loyal to his administration. But because she didn't go down a rabbit hole with him about the 2020 election, she's the enemy now. It shouldn't be that way. It's kind of like a what have you done for me lately type deal. Anyway, give him a chance. They will fix Medicare, but people that can work will get kicked off these programs. And most of us are cool with that. Kathy, in regards to giving Trump a chance and suggesting he will fix Medicare, maybe, but he's got to present some kind of plan. The problem is Trump has been president now for nearly 5 years, and he's never presented any plan of what he intends to do. Like right now, he's saying that if the Democrats, agree to open up the government again, he'll sit down and work with them. You should have something you can present. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene is now saying, is that you don't even have a plan. You're just saying Obamacare is trash. We need to get rid of it. But what are you going to replace it with? Can you show us your plan and how it'll be much better than Obamacare and why it's what we need to go with? There's nothing there. So we should just get rid of the Affordable Care Act and just trust what you develop from scratch from there will just be better. That's why people are pushing back, is that he has nothing to fill in the blanks with. Republicans outed Ron Paul. He would have been way better than President Trump, says James Hurtado. By way of yes or no in the comments, folks, I'm talking to my beloved MAGA in particular. Do you believe that Ron Paul, are you talking about Rand Paul, rather? Are you talking about Ron, the old guy? Or are you talking about Rand Paul of Kentucky? Which one are you talking about? Do you think one of the Pauls would have been better than President Trump? I'm going to assume with the amount of unity that Trump has gathered with MAGA, listen, I've been to a couple of Trump rallies, even though I lean left. The amount of energy that comes out of going to a Trump, I don't think any Rand or Ron Paul could create that. I think the only other politician in our lifetime that has that energy is probably Obama. When you leave an Obama rally, the energy you feel about the candidate, the energy that Democrats feel towards Obama is very strong. They don't have that for Kamala or Biden. Same thing with President Trump. The energy that MAGA feels toward President Trump is very strong. They don't have that in regards to the Bushes. I don't even think they had it in regards to Ronald Reagan, but I was a young lad back then, so I can't speak on it. But it's a certain energy that you don't know until you experience it. And having said that, I absolutely believe that is why Kamala was no match for President Trump. Is because people were voting for Kamala. People were voting for Trump because they really liked Trump and wanted him to be president. People were voting for Kamala because they really hated Trump and did not want him to be president. They weren't voting for Kamala, if you ask me. Where does Trump get his donations? Wow. Where does Trump get it, quote unquote, donations? I think that's going to be in air quotes. Listen, if you ask me, a lot of the money going to Trump at the very least looks questionable. At the worst is probably some criminal activity involved in that. I'm just going to say, allowing a president to have his own cryptocurrency, knowing the nature of crypto, how it allows you to, for the most part, keep a lot of financial information hidden. A president having his own crypto, man, that's a conflict of interest. I'm just going to say that. And who knows, maybe he's using it 100% legally, but I don't think anybody on the right would have been favorable to Hillary Clinton having her own crypto. That just opens up the door for all kinds of shady shit. Maybe you trust Trump, maybe you feel he's 100% innocent. I get it, but there should be a law against a president having his own cryptocurrency, because you just heard this guy, what was his name? CZ. I'm about to say CK, but that's Charlie Kirk. CZ. He's a Chinese guy that Trump just pardoned last week. This individual was the founder of, I believe it's called, what is it, Binance or ByteDance or whatever the hell the company is. Somebody can let me know in the comments. He's the founder of this company, and his crypto coin or whatever he's merged with the Trump family, and they got some kind of, I'm just giving you some wild numbers here. This is what I've been reading. $2 billion. He has some kind of deal with Trump and his family. $2 billion in a crypto deal, and this guy pled guilty to money laundering. Which, what better avenue to money laundering than crypto? That's like the perfect avenue to commit money laundering crimes. He got caught and pled guilty to money laundering. That's what Trump pardoned him for. And this guy is invested in Trump's crypto with Trump and his family. Now, Trump was questioned about that pardon on, I believe it was a 60 Minutes interview he just had. And he stated, I don't even know who this guy is. I'm not shitting you. He said he don't even know who the guy is. So this guy was going to be the guy that was going to drain the swamp, expose the deep state. I don't think any of my beloved MAGA, and I'm speaking directly to MAGA on this, I don't think any MAGA would have been okay with Hillary Clinton or Obama doing the exact same thing that Trump just did with this guy. Pardoning a money launderer that's involved financially with your family, and then later getting on TV and saying, I don't know who this guy is. Is there anybody in the audience that believe that? That believe he don't know this guy? That he pardoned the guy that was convicted of money laundering, and you don't let's take the financial deal out of it. Why are you pardoning people you don't know? Did somebody who recommended? Because listen, some people do go to politicians. I think this was let's say Steve Bannon, a trusted associate. Steve Bannon or Marco Rubio or somebody, a trusted associate, come to you and say, listen, this individual was wronged by the courts, and, Mr. President, I think he is worthy of a pardon. I want you to look at this file, and I want you to consider pardoning him. It would be a special favor to me, or I would really be something like that. They get pardons recommended to them. But because this guy is involved in deals with Trump's family, I'm just going to say it's very difficult to believe Trump pardoned this guy and didn't know who he was. Joe Shalom says, fuck yourself, Tim. Wow. It was never both sides. You were always part of the problem, and I hate your guts for it, ass. Wow, Joe. Okay. Thank you for the input in the super chat, but I want you to explain that. We don't block, ban, or censor. You can feel free to criticize the host on this program. That's what free speech is all about. We'll never censor our guests. Listen, if the apps let you say it, so will I. Maybe a couple words here or there. Try to avoid overuse of the N-word or some shit like that. Otherwise, feel free to throw your criticism out there. But I do want to respond to your comment. Okay, you start out by saying, fuck yourself, Tim. Wow. It was never both sides. What do you mean by that? What are you referring to when you say it was never both sides? You say you were always part of the problem and I hate your guts for it, ass. What have I done to lead you to suggest that you hate me? Okay. And listen, I want to know. Give me your opinion on it. I want to make sure he hasn't responded yet. But let me know when you respond. Look it in the comments though. And when I say you're free to state whatever you want, I'm telling you, my guests never disappoint. Immediately, Bug says peanut head monkey. Okay, fair enough. A lot of black scratches going on. What do you mean by what is a black scratch? Junior and Eric told him to let their friend out. Hey, King, I believe that that's accurate. I believe that may be a lot closer to being accurate, but it's hard to believe that Trump did not know who this guy is. Because listen, if you let a bad guy out, is this not what we hold the Democrat Party accountable for? Being soft on crime? Think Lincoln Riley, where they let an individual out and he went on to take the life of Lincoln Riley when he should have been held by immigration. So if you let somebody out and then they go on and do something awful, you're going to be blamed for letting them out. So as president, if you're pardoning folks that are serving time in prison, you need to know who you're pardoning, because you may let somebody out that may go on to reoffend again. So the idea that you don't know who this is leads to the obvious question. Why would you pardon somebody you don't know? You may be pardoning a murderer. I mean, why would you just pardon somebody you don't know who they are? What you should be able to discuss at least a sentence or two in detail about everybody you pardon. You should know who you letting out. Otherwise, like I said, the Lincoln Riley type shit, the guy who stabbed the white Ukrainian immigrant on the subway that comes up a lot over in North Carolina or whatever the case may be. Well, he should have been in jail. Many will tell you he should have been in jail. If this guy that Trump just pardoned goes on to commit another major financial crime, the same is going to apply to him. He should have been in jail. Why did you let him out? This has already happened under President Trump. At least two, I'm sure there's more, but I'm just going to say two that I know of. At least two of the individuals he pardoned in regards to January 6th have went on to commit major felonies. Two of them have. One of them actually was shot and killed by an Indiana State trooper for getting into a gunfight with a trooper. So two of them individuals from January 6th have gotten let out. I think the other guy has been arrested by the feds because he was actively trying to orchestrate a plot to take the life of congressional minority leader Hakeem Jeffries. He was also a January 6th pardonee. And now here he is threatening more political violence. So two of those people that Trump has pardoned for that have went on to commit some pretty bad acts. So yeah, you're responsible. Because if Obama or Biden or Clinton or anybody else, if you let somebody out, people going to blame you if they go out and reoffend again. How does Trump get a pass? Do stupid things, get stupid results, says Michael. I don't disagree with that. I only take government names seriously. All right. Blackstone thanks the Patriot Farmers. I don't quite get this. So what we also asking is, let me ask you folks this as well. We talked about the government shutdown, which you're seeing on the monitor behind me. Now, obviously, Trump admits that the nuclear option is available. Everybody already knew the nuclear option was available, but Trump is suggesting that the Republicans use it. By way of yes or no in the comments, how many of you folks believe that the Republican Party should take Trump's recommendation and use the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster, and act unilaterally as a party and get the country back up? Yes or no? Do you believe that they should take President Trump's request and skip the Democrats and just get the country back open and running via ending the filibuster? That way you don't need the Democrats, because they're calling it a Democrat shutdown, but make no mistake about it, it can be done without the Democrats.
Calling on Republicans to change the rules in the Senate to reopen the government. Trump posting overnight, it is now time for the Republicans to play their Trump card and go for what is called the nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster and get rid of it now. The move would allow Republicans to pass a bill to fund the government with a simple majority instead of the 60 votes currently needed. But Senate Majority Leader John Thune has warned against this move, saying it could come back to bite Republicans whenever Democrats take power back.
Here's what I don't get. Now Senator Thune is right. Yeah, if you get rid of the nuclear option and you get rid of the filibuster, he's right that it could come back to bite them once the Democrats get in power again. Now, many on the right, my beloved MAGA, many of them are suggesting that the Democrats' time is over with. There'll never be another Democrat elected again. That's what many on the right are suggesting. I don't submit to that theory. I do believe eventually you'll have Democrats in office again. Listen, maybe Trump is followed up by J.D. Vance or Rubio or somebody else, but eventually you're going to get another Democrat. Unless the Republic falls apart, if people are allowed to continue voting, eventually another Democrat will win. So for anybody that thinks the Democrat Party is done for, that's not true. And I'll tell you why. For the same reason the Republicans won handedly last year. Fact is, the Democratic Party, many believe, went too far to the left. The LGBTQ stuff, a lot of folks didn't like the woke stuff, a lot of that stuff. The Democrat Party was going too far to the left, is what many independents and even some Democrats were saying. But if you allow what's going on now to continue, there will be a day when the Republicans go too far to the right, which will create the same backlash that going too far to the left has created. You start forcing Christianity on kids in schools. You may like that if you lean right, but a lot of people on the left don't view that any better than forcing LGBTQ stuff on kids. Forcing Christianity on people, obviously telling women if they can and cannot terminate pregnancies and if they can get certain types of maternal care and things like, you can go too far to the right as well. We don't discuss oftentimes far right, but that does exist. There is a such thing as the far right as well. You always hear about the far left, the Bernie Sanders and the AOCs and the Elizabeth Warrens. The far right exists as well. And once you get to the far right, you're talking Taliban type stuff, where everything has to be one religion, male dominated. There are far right governments on this planet. So you can go too far to the right. So I'm just simply saying that if the right stays in power for too long, the country will shift too far to the right, and the voters will be outraged just like they were when they thought it went too far to the left. So Democrats will come back eventually, because unless you get a whole bunch of moderate Republicans that don't go too far to the right, but there's no sign that's happening whatsoever. They're going far to the right. They're going far to the right. Anyway, looking in the comments, wait until they see what their energy bills go up to, along with all their other costs. The thing is, many are saying that President Trump made a host of promises to defeat Kamala Harris about the economy, your energy cost. In fact, there's a quote out there of President Trump saying that within 12 months, your energy bills are going to be cut in half. He actually stated that if you vote for him in 12 months, your energy bill is going to be cut in half. Now, that would be probably by next month, because obviously the election was last November. So that's clearly not true. And I don't know how many people are going to hold him accountable for that, but he absolutely said that in 12 months, your energy costs would be cut in half. So I do agree that many are suggesting that under President Trump, a lot of his promises are not coming to fruition. Is that the cost of energy and goods and services, they're not coming down. Now, I will tell you this, though. Gas prices are not bad. Gas prices are fairly stable under President Trump, but some of this other shit, like food and groceries and stuff like that, not so much.
I will cut the price of energy and electricity in half. Ready? 12 months from January 20th to take office on January 20th, your electric bill, including cars, air conditioners, heating, everything, your total electric bill will be 50% less. We're going to cut it in half. And we have it. We have the power to do it because we have it. We don't need ships. We don't need long train. We have everything. We're going to have to build some pipelines because we can't transport it. But that's easy to do, and that's safer than trains. But
12 months from January. Okay, I said November. 12 months from January. So that is, we're now in November. We pretty much got the whole of November remaining and the whole of December. And we could say the whole of January because he wasn't inaugurated or sworn in until late in January. So 3 months from now, all of November, all of December, all of January, let's say by February 1, he is claiming you will be paying 50% less for your electric bill and your energy bill. Do you believe that? I'll leave it up to you folks. Do you believe he's accurate in stating that? That you're going to see a 50% decrease in your energy bill? This is what we're talking about. These are promises he made. Doesn't matter how you feel about Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, or if you thought they were going to destroy the country or whatever. This is a promise he made. Deflecting to Kamala Harris or Joe Biden does not take away the fact that he said you're going to be paying half on your energy bill. My guess is that's probably not going to happen. That's probably going to go by way of I'll end the Ukraine-Russia war in 24 hours. But a lot of folks still believe Trump is doing a really good job. Go figure. I'll leave that up to you. Neither food nor energy are going down. Holy shit, these people believe anything, says Keith. I got a lot of folks in the comments that are telling me their food and grocery prices are going down. A lot of folks are saying this. Yes, I am surprised about gas prices, but we are starting to source more oil from North Dakota, so that may be helping gas stay stable. Well, whatever the case may be, I personally view it like this. If you're the coach of a team, you're responsible for the wins and losses. Even if you're a bad coach, but you just happen to have a really good player on the team, if that team wins, you get a ring at the end of the championship just like everybody else. So whatever's happening with gas prices, even if Trump has nothing to do with it, if gas prices are coming down under his watch, I'm giving him credit for it. Because if gas prices went up under his watch, the left would blame him for it. So I do believe whatever happens under your watch, you get credit for it. I just see it that way, even if you're not directly responsible for it. No one is a better president. Wait a minute, it says no one is better. All president sucks. What he said, all presidents suck, Diamond. Tim, you have a violation here. I don't know why. Careful. What is the violation? I haven't seen that. It's not telling me that. Violation for what? So we'll continue on. I don't know why I said. Oh, he said that's obviously a troll. Only liberals believe it's really YouTube. Yeah, I don't. There's no. Yeah, they would let me know if there was a violation. In fact, I'll make sure that the trolling individual, if I'm able to do so, I'll take that because, like I said, I don't know why this thing is doing this, but yeah, that I've had that happen before. That's not that individual. That's an individual doing that. In fact, I will go ahead and take that individual out. There you go. So that is a troll. That's not a real violation. Claiming to be YouTube and support. That person's comments should be gone now. Looking in the comments though, streaming will be disabled. Yeah, that's not real. That individual's gone. I just took him out of there. My wallet had all the facts. I'm saving money again. Thanks, Trump. I'd have to, when you say your wallet is saving money again, I'd be curious to know what went up under Biden that you now are saving money under President Trump. Because inflation, groceries, goods and service, I don't know if any of that's went down other than fuel. I'll just say it like this. If there is some of my over-the-road drivers out there, that a large portion of your expense is fuel, it would make sense for a truck driver to say, I'm saving money under Trump. If you're seeing cheaper gas prices, and I do believe they've went down somewhat under Trump. So a truck driver, I can see saying it, but somebody who goes to work every day, drives 10 miles, and spends all day in the office, I'd be curious to know what they're saying, that they're, how are they benefiting from Trump? That would be different. Let me go ahead and continue. Somebody else is doing the same thing on it. Yeah, it's crazy that people get on here and pretend to be something that they're not. You're not. Anyway, looking in the comments here, OPEC is producing a little more oil each month now, so the United States cannot sell their oil for much more. That's why gas is cheaper. Could be. I'm not denying the reason why. I'm just simply saying it's happening under Trump, so Trump gets credit for it. I mean, if OPEC made gas prices shoot up, Trump would be threatening OPEC or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But I'm just saying what happens under your watch, you get credit for the wins and losses, even if you have nothing to do with it. I don't know anyone is saving more money now because gas is the only stable commodity. Everything else has been skyrocketing. That is also my view of it as well, BH, that I don't see anything else going down. Not to mention the job numbers under President Trump are going to be terrible. The federal government is shut down right now, so you're probably not going to get any accurate job numbers from President Trump until probably damn near the spring, because they do it in quarters or whatever. And you know what happened last time Trump got some bad job numbers? He shot the messenger. He fired the messenger. So you got to kind of question whether you can trust what's coming out anyway. But oddly enough, he was really angry with the job numbers he received in the summer. And I did a video on this. We did a live on this. And I asked the question, why would you expect your job numbers to be anything other than poor? I mean, you've been on a firing spree since you were sworn in for your second term. You guys literally came in firing as many people in the federal government as you could, not to mention all sorts of other orbiting industries. You're getting rid of all kinds of people. Why would you think you would have good job numbers? Has anybody, I'm talking even my MAGA viewers, let me ask you, have you heard of any industry at all that's been on a hiring spree since Trump got reelected? You obviously know industries that's been firing a bunch of people. Have you heard of any industry that's been hiring a bunch of people? Even Amazon is laying off like 30,000 people or something they suggested crazy, I guess due to automation or AI or whatever. Yeah. A. King said AI has been on a hiring spree. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, why would you expect your job numbers to be anything other than dismal? I mean, automation and AI is already firing a bunch of people, but then you and Elon Musk got in there and just started chopping the federal government to pieces. And understand, all of us, regardless of what you do for a living, you patronize a host of businesses. If you work in an office, you might stop at Starbucks or some coffee shop on the way to work to pick up a cup of coffee. When you're going home, you may stop off at the gas station, pick up some things on the way home and to fill up your car or whatever. If you get fired, them people don't see you anymore. So when you start firing federal workers, you're also hurting all of the businesses they patronize too. There's going to be food trucks that are parked outside of the tax office or outside of EPA buildings. All of them folks don't have a job either because ain't nobody coming out to the truck to buy food when lunchtime strikes anymore. They don't work here anymore. So you're hurting all of them people, all of the local gas stations and coffee houses and shops that are nearby. All of them people are hurting. So I don't get why it's a shock that his job numbers were bad, unless she just wanted them to lie about it and make it sound. I mean, you've been firing thousands of people. The job numbers are going to be bad. Now, he's claiming that the tariffs will bring jobs back. I'll leave it up to you how you feel about that, but that is what he's claiming. Real quick, looking in the comments. By the way, folks, smash that like button on the YouTube screen. If you're watching on Instagram or TikTok, feel free to give your boy a follow. Instagram or X. We're on X right now. Instagram or X. Feel free to follow the program. We're here most weekdays. Generally, we take callers just tonight, TikTok went down, and I didn't even go ahead and try to boot it or appeal. We'll just finish it up tomorrow. We'll be back on live tomorrow. But if you enjoy uncensored dialogue from all sides of the aisle, this is the place to be. We don't block, ban, or censor any damn body. Just because you got an opposing opinion, damn it, you have a right to speak that. So we do entertain all opinions. You can criticize anybody on the program, including yours truly. We do allow that. So if you enjoy free speech to a hilt, feel free to follow us and give us a sub if you're on YouTube. Looking in the comments, it is a sad day when hospitals are closing left and right. Healthcare used to be practically recession proof. Damn, I haven't heard about hospitals closing. Here's the problem. I think that, and this is the left side of me coming out. I think that we are spending far more money on the military than we are on each other. I don't believe that you should tell American citizens when it comes to healthcare, you just on your own. I mean, we're not going to do anything to help you. If you're smart enough and you get the right job and the right employer gives you employer provided healthcare, more power to you. But if they don't, we ain't got your back. I mean, that's kind of the way the country's ran. We really do not, unless you're in the military or you're a senior citizen, for the most part, it's like you kind of own your own. Meanwhile, we're spending an infinite amount of money on the military. Probably more than the top 5 military protected countries combined. We're way overkill on that. I just believe that we should do a little bit more for the American people in terms of healthcare. That's my opinion. I know the right vehemently disagrees with that. The right completely disagrees with that, which is why in right-wing states, uninsured Americans it's more uninsured people in right-wing areas. Because it's just, if you got it, you got it. If you don't, sorry. Bro built like my toe. I don't know what that means. We spend $1 trillion on defense, but have you seen what the members of the military make? So where the hell is all the money going? Any guesses? It's going to R&D. It's going to the powers that be in those companies. It's going to the shareholders of those companies. That's where the money is going. It's not going to the guy who is actually trying to avoid getting hit by that shit out on the battlefield. It's going to the folks who make the shit, the geniuses behind making it, and of course, those who invest in companies like Raytheon and Boeing and Lockheed. Them the folks that are making the money, the people that, just like the incarceration for profit. There's a lot of people who make money off incarceration. There's a lot of people who make money off of war. We're a capitalist country. That's what capitalists do. They capitalize off of any opportunity to make money. If starting wars will make me money, I will capitalize off of that opportunity. If incarcerating people will make me money, I will capitalize off of that opportunity. That's what capitalism ain't meant to be fair or morally. It's meant to make money. That's all it's about, is making money. The rest of that shit, be damned. It's not about treating people respectfully, right, or doing what's morally right. It's about making money. And that's what the country is. We are a capitalist country. I mean, do I have to bring up slavery? It's about making money. That's all it was about. Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah, we mistreating a few people here and there, but it's making money. So that's all it's been from day one. It's been about making money, which is why healthcare is so expensive. Yeah, you're right. I'm not even going to say Tyrannosaurus or something. Yeah, you're right. That's what it's about. It's about greed. It's about making money. And there is no such thing as enough money. I mean, Elon and Jeff Bezos are working their asses off, and they got 10 generations worth of wealth, and they're still going to work every day, still trying to make more money. That's how it works. That's why individuals, in my opinion, like Mom Donnie, are getting more and more notice, is that there's starting to be too many Americans that, while they favor capitalism, they're just not getting ahead in capitalism. So they're like, fuck it, this socialism shit, I don't necessarily agree with it, but damn, if you can tax me at 70% and I'll be able to live better, whether it's health care, tuition assistance, or rent assistance, I'll be able to get more shit with the 30% you leave me after taxing me 70% than I will in a capitalist environment where you're only taxing me 20%. The 80% they leave me with in the capitalist system does not get me as much shit as I would have in the socialist system that only leaves me with 30. That's why some people are starting to look at it that way. It's just like this is not working for them. I got 2 jobs, and folks are like, I got 2 damn jobs, and I can still barely afford to feed the family. If this is capitalism, let me try something else. That's why Mom Donnie is starting to get, and the Bernie Sanders types are starting to get so much play. Is under the capitalist system, the more regulations you roll back, the more you allow folks at the top to capitalize and remove opportunities from those at the bottom. Somebody just asked about that. We're spending tons of money on defense, but yet people in the military don't get paid like shit. All this money you spending from the Pentagon, but yet the people that are on the battlefield, they're barely getting by. So obviously, people at the top are capitalizing and robbing them. So yeah, some people are starting to say, "Fuck it, I'd rather trust someone else." Looking in the comments, slavery has to be brought up on everything, even the cost of eggs in China. Look, listen, there's some people who bring up slavery on everything, who bring up race on everything, and there's some people who don't want to bring up race on anything. I mentioned slavery in all of one sentence in regards to capitalism. I'm just simply saying the country was founded on capitalism, and our original sin was part of that. Slavery, the purpose of slavery was to make money, period. That's what they were doing, making money, free labor. That's all that came up. So there's some people that don't want to hear anything about it, and there's some people that talk about it nonstop. Why do CEOs get bonuses while they fire thousands of people? Capitalism. If you become the head of a company that has 10,000 employees, and you can still run the company efficiently with only 8,000 employees, you save the company 2,000 employees worth of salaries. You deserve a bonus. And that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. At the end of the year, you can show how you've benefited the company financially, and they reward you by giving you a bonus. You get a cut of all of them people's salaries that you fired, which encourages you to try next year to fire a few more of them. That's why. That's exactly what happens. Wait, your suffering is on the way. What do you mean by that, Diamond? Explain. Tim, then why do they get 100 million severance when they screw up? It's part of the contract. It's in the deal already. I mean, a lot of these when they come to run the company, this is what they negotiate. I'm so good at what I do. I should be guaranteed. I mean, just like in sports, you get a guaranteed salary even if you get injured, even if you don't perform. I mean, you come on a high promise, and you get them to sign on the dotted line, and that it is what it is. At that point, it becomes a golden parachute, as many are pointing out. Look at all the companies that went bankrupt, yet the upper management left with golden parachutes. Yeah. And that happens in government. No matter how bad our government does, the head of the government will always still make money. Let's say, for instance, America goes into another recession or, God forbid, another depression. You think the Nancy Pelosi's are going to go broke? In fact, they may find ways to even make more money in the middle of that shit. So that's how, just like in corporate America. In a capitalist environment, the people at the top do very well. And oftentimes it's at the expense of those at the bottom. Generals make over 100K on retirement. Yeah, but shit, what percentage? That's like the LeBron James in basketball. Very few people in the military become a general. That ain't easy to get. The generals make over 100K. You do know that most black tribes in Africa became extremely powerful and rich by selling not only their people, but other tribes into slavery to the Dutch who started the African slave trade. Yeah, that is true. But listen, there's 2 things I'll say on that. First of all, slavery went on long beyond them selling people. Okay, you sell me into slavery. Once I come to America, you sold me. Now, every offspring that I create, you're enslaving all of them too. So you don't get to blame the guy who sold me for you holding my whole family tree in slavery. At that point, it ain't that dude's fault anymore. You're now making this one person produce all these other people, and you're enslaving all of them too. You don't get to say, well, your great 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 grandfather sold you into this, 100 years ago. So we blame him. No, you bought me. You didn't buy my great 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 grandchildren that's not born yet. So I get that it started with many of them selling folks into slavery, but what America did to slavery and some of the other countries, let's say Spanish, the English, the Dutch, what they did to slavery was almost like what Michael Jordan did for basketball. They took it to a whole new level. It ain't like it wasn't already happening, but they took it to a whole new level. That argument is dead. We are in America. Yeah, bringing up what somebody sold, and then all of a sudden these folks are just making them procreate and raping them out. You don't get to blame the one guy that sold you into this shit hundreds of years ago. But listen, that is true though. There were Africans that sold members of their own people into slavery. I'm not disagreeing with that, but you blaming that, trying to put that one guy on level to somebody who enslaved a whole family tree of people, they're in a different universe, in my opinion. I think they're in a different universe. Judgment is God's own work, so it must naturally be carried out by God Himself. It cannot be done by man in his stead, is what it says, because judgment is the use of the truth to conquer humankind. That's deep. I mean, I could go a few ways with that, but I'll just say that's deep. There's pros and cons. America should be treated. What do you say? There's pros and cons. Americans should be treated regardless. What do you mean by that? Tim, who do you think will win in New York? Mom Donnie is the clear favorite. My money would, I mean, listen, I would be, if somebody bet me Cuomo was going to win, Andrew, I would pay 2-1 against that. Mom Donnie is the clear favorite in that. And I'm not saying I don't know a lot about the guy other than what you're hearing on the media. And I watch probably a healthy amount of right-wing media more than the left. So the right hates him. So I know everything the right is saying about the guy is not true. But I don't watch a lot of, I don't watch MSNBC at all. I watch some Fox, I watch News Nation. Occasionally I might listen to CNN, but I know the rights. Certainly everything Trump is going to say about the guy would make the guy sound like he's going to be, the next Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping or somebody like that. So but I think he's going to win. I absolutely think that Mamdani is going to win. Do I believe he's the face of the Democrat Party going forward? Shit, let's see how well he does. He could be. I'm going to say right off the bat, no, but he could be. I do believe the Democrat Party is leaning more towards a socialist outcome. Capitalism is not working well for the younger crowd. And that's the crowd that is leaning more socialist. It's not the Gen Xers, silent generation, the older folks. It's the younger folks, the folks that are under 40. Because their future under a capitalist environment is far more bleak than it was for us when we were the age. Shit is less affordable. The health care they're getting at their jobs is shit. Their retirement plans suck. I mean, the corporations are giving less and less as each generation goes on, and eventually it's going to reach a hilt where people are just, we've gotten rid of the unions and all of that. The employees are becoming more and more powerless. The only environment where you're still getting paid decent without going is the trades. That's why you keep hearing the right talking about the trades, because there's still a decent amount of unionization in the trades. You don't need a serious amount of student loan debt to get involved in the trades. But fact is, most jobs aren't trade related. Most people don't work in the trades. Most people work for small business and corporate America. Everybody can't be in the fucking trades. And in those environments, the people are getting fucked over. If you work in corporate America, small business, people are getting fucked over heavily in those environments. Everybody can't be a welder or a carpenter. Or a plumber. Everybody's not going to do that. So in the trades, people are getting, listen, if you're in the trades, civil services, you work for the city, garbage man, bus driver, cop, firefighter, park district, you can still do fairly well. Still a lot of heavy unionization in those environments too if you're up in the northern states. Nurse, stuff like that, civil services. But if you're working in corporate America, right to work states and all this other bullshit, they don't give a fuck about you. They will get rid of you if they can save a quarter by replacing you with somebody else. There's no loyalty. You used to come out of high school, spend 30 years working in a factory somewhere, working for the same employer for 30 years. You retired, they gave you a fucking gold watch, maybe a turkey. Nowadays, there is no reason to stay at the same company for 30 years anymore. Which is why people bounce everywhere. There's no loyalty. There's no reason to give your whole career to one employer. So it just sucks compared to what it was in generations past. That's why a lot of folks are starting to look at other types of ways of running the government other than just capitalism. It's not working for everybody. Not a bad gig, since it looks like anyone can get to be Congress. Yeah, after George Santos, you talk about anybody can be on Congress. When you think about George Santos, who got a pardon from Trump, by the way, he literally lied about everything. God damn. I mean, he said his mom was in the World Trade Center, and he said he had relatives that were part of the Holocaust. And Trump said, well, at least he had the mindset to vote Republican, so I'm going to let him out. Wow. But yeah, when you see what George Santos did, it does echo what you stated. Anybody can be a member of Congress. I don't know how many of you seen the movie by Eddie Murphy. It wasn't well known, but it was called Distinguished Gentleman, on how he lied to get into politics. George Santos is a real version of that. But yeah, he just lied about everything to become a congressman. 48 hours a day. What a dingleberry. I don't get what you mean by that. I get the dingleberry part. What do you mean by 48 hours a day? Private property rights. Okay. Black judge smoking good weed and drunk. What the hell does that got to do with this program? So what is the compromise between capitalism and socialism? Great question. Man. The compromise between capitalism and socialism is a hybrid. The shit that our families grew up on, the shit that our mom and dads grew up on. You want capitalism where you can pursue the American dream, but you want some socialist tenets so that the powers that be can't just readily fuck you over. Socialist tenets, I believe, for instance, I don't know how to say it other than the health care we give our citizens should be better. I mean, because listen, you used to leave high school and go work for the same company for 30 years until you retired. When you retired, the company provided you with health care in retirement. In the 30 years you were working for the company outside of high school, you were getting health care from the company. People don't work 30 years for the same company anymore. So in between jobs, you get this COBRA shit that nobody can afford. And most Americans switch jobs a number of times in their lives. So there's a lot of periods where you're uninsured. And then, of course, now, a lot of jobs, the insurance they do provide, you can't do shit with it. That's what when Obama was running and trying to promote Obamacare, that's one of the things he was talking about, is that a lot of Americans are insured until they actually need to use it. You don't have the money to pay for the out-of-pocket cost that your insurance requires, or the deductible. You don't have enough money. If you actually needed to use this shit, something really happened to you, you would realize this is useless to you. It's almost like having auto insurance with like a $10,000 deductible. Okay, so you get into an accident, police pull up, do you got insurance? Give them your insurance card. Okay, but 3 months later, your car's still in the yard smashed up because you can't afford to pay the deductible. That's what insurance has become. You're insured, but you really can't do shit with it. Other than all of a sudden bills are coming and you damn near, headed for bankruptcy, which is also something else Obama protected us against in terms of how much damage companies could do to you if you owed medical bills. We the Rebel says, I'd have called you tonight to point out that government subsidies led to higher prices, specifically in healthcare. Then illegals should get the best healthcare and invoice their country of origin. Well, you're not going to be able to if somebody let's say I flee America. And by the way, I have left America. I lived overseas before. When I was living in Australia, living in New Zealand, if I get injured over there and they send an invoice to America, America's not going to pay that. So you're saying they should invoice the country of origin to where these illegal immigrants came. They're not going to pay for because they didn't even know their citizen left. You can't make them. They're not going to pay for that. But I think the thing is, we give illegal immigrants emergency care. If you are an illegal immigrant, you're not walking into some kind of urgent care center with a medical card. I think that's where the right oversteps when they say you want to give illegals health care. If you're an illegal immigrant and you get hit by a bus and an ambulance takes you to a hospital, you don't have any money, you don't have any insurance, but the hospital's still going to treat you for the broken femur or whatever the hell happened to you. A lot of folks don't want that to happen. You're in the country illegally. We should not have to pay for anything that happens to you. I'll leave it up to you on how that looks, but in terms of just having an insurance card and being able to go and get regular checkups and shit, illegal immigrants don't get that. I'm not aware that any illegal immigrant is getting that. So I don't know where that part is coming from, because Americans don't get that. If you're not working, I suppose you can try to apply for welfare or whatever. You may or may not get that. As a citizen, you may or may not get that. I don't know. Illegal immigrants are not just walking into an urgent care or making regular appointments with a doctor to see them every week or every month or every year or whatever. They don't get that. And the right is making it sound like they get some type of ongoing health care like that. So there's over 70 plus countries with universal health care, with Australia, Canada, Iceland, Singapore, South Korea leading. Americans should have the same health care, should be a right. I agree with that. I don't understand how we can come up with infinite money for the military, but when it comes to giving citizens health care, it's like we can't afford it. I'm with you on that. That is where the left in me comes out. I mean, it's one thing in suggesting we should have enough money on military expenditures to defend ourselves. That's fine. We're way beyond that. We got like 12 aircraft carriers. I think China may have 2. I think France has 1. Russia has maybe 1. We have 12. You know how much it costs to run that, how much it costs to make that and maintain. Why? That's unnecessary. We spend more money perpetrating the position of world's police, unnecessarily, I might add, than we do taking care of our own citizens. That is absolutely something I would totally agree, is that we should do a significantly better job in providing our citizens with health care. I really believe that's, if you want to talk about things that are leading folks to start investigating becoming a socialist country, healthcare is one of those things. Healthcare is indeed one of those things. Why is it up to us to house and support immigrants? It's not, Marissa. It's not up to us to house and support immigrants. Trump is proving that by kicking them out. But by the way, let's just be real. Every first world and developing country, and developing countries too, have an illegal immigration problem. Every first world and developing country Mexico has an illegal immigration problem. There are plenty of folks coming from Guatemala, Nicaragua, and some of those countries south of Mexico that are happy staying in Mexico. They have an illegal immigration problem too. When I lived in Australia, Fijians were coming there, Somalians were coming there, Papua New Guinea folks were coming there. They had an illegal immigration problem. England has an illegal immigration problem. Greece has every country has an illegal immigration problem. The difference with the United States is you can walk here. America is a very wealthy country that is bordering a very poor country. So with that in existence, it's going to be worse here because it's a lot easier to get here and the disparity between finances is great. but every first world country and developing country has an illegal immigration problem. That's not unique to the United States because your ancestors took their country. Wake your ass up, says Diamond Jimmy. He said, he said we have an illegal immigration problem because your ancestors took their shit. There is some of that involved in it too. I'll just say it like this. Virtually every country that is south of our border has some American influence in it. If that country is struggling, it's hard to suggest that none of that is due to some of the actions from previous governments in this country. Not to mention the stronghold that the cartel has on many of those countries that are south of the border. Who provides all of the finances and to some degree all the weapons that the cartel has? Where do you think they got all of that money and power from? They're getting it from us. The money, the bank, we as citizens with our high demand for drugs are bankrolling the cartel. And as the largest exporter of weapons, we're arming them too. So any country that has a cartel problem, that has America written all over it. If America did not exist in such close proximity, those cartel organizations would be a weaker faction. I'm not saying they wouldn't exist, but they would be significantly weaker without all the money and firearms coming out of America. We're making those cartels much more powerful. That's coming from us. Race baiter, says Justin Poole. Like I said, there's some people who talk about race and everything. There's some people who would rather erase any racial history from the textbooks, from existence. That's why any civil rights leader, anybody that discusses race whatsoever, even the LeBron James, they're all race baiters because they would rather you not discuss what happened in this country at all. Like I said, I'm not a fan of bringing up race in every damn thing, but pretending like it doesn't exist at all doesn't help either. Jared, you're paying taxes now, then also paying premiums, deductibles, medicine, copays, etc. What exactly is a real job to you? I love when someone says that because it's like maybe that person feeling insecure. So, okay, now I don't know if you're talking. Somebody else said get a real job. Well, here's the problem. There are jobs out there that many of us might not suggest as a real job, but it still requires real people to do it. And many of those jobs operate in the middle of the night, so you know it's not a burger flipper teenager doing it. So if a full-grown adult is doing that job, it should provide enough for that adult to survive off of, because that person has to eat. That person may have offspring, may have children. Like, for instance, let's say you get off work 9 o'clock at night, you want to stop at Dollar General to pick up some things on the way home. That ain't a teenager working in there at that time of night. Teenager got to go to school in the morning. We know Dollar General doesn't pay like shit. That person behind the counter that's serving you probably makes $15 an hour or less. If they got a child or something like that at home, the only way they gonna survive is to get EBT or SNAP or something like that. That job is not paying them enough to survive off of. So a real job, anytime you expect a real adult to come and show up to that job, it's a real job. It should pay enough for that adult to be able to feed themselves and put a roof over their head. Otherwise, you and I got to subsidize it. When we say we're not going to defend giving a higher minimum wage to employers, we don't believe in forcing companies to raise the minimum wage or forcing companies to provide health care. When you fight for that, you're literally fighting in favor of the corporations to not have to pay their employees. And the end result is you pay it. Because what happens is they work for that company that don't pay that shit. And then they apply for all types of state or federal assistance that's covered by you. So you're subsidizing that employer that's not paying them properly. You're literally telling that employer, don't worry about it. I got it. You don't have to pay them shit. Don't worry about it. I got it. You're doing that. A lot of folks that work at Walmart and shit like, they're getting food stamps and stuff like that. The folks who own Walmart, they're filthy rich. So when you say I'm not going to force Walmart to pay more, I don't think we should let the free market decide. Or the free market decided to not pay them like shit. So you and I have to subsidize it. That's what's happening. They're getting food stamps and shit. That's why people need to realize everybody receiving EBT and SNAP, they're not just sitting around not working. Everybody says, well, listen, you pissed off about losing SNAP, go out and get your ass a job. A lot of them are already working. They're already working. They're working for the companies that you didn't want to force to raise wages. You didn't want to force them to give them decent health care. So now they are on the government dough for some kind of health care that you're subsidizing. When they go to the doctor and they show a state or federal, what do you call it, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever they're showing, they're getting, they're getting health care provided by the state or provided by the federal. That's your money that's covering their health care because you told the employer, don't worry about it. I got it. That's what's happening. That's what you're doing. When they raise your minimum wage, they raise prices on everything you need. Here's the problem with that. Up till the pandemic, because the pandemic made wages go up. They had to encourage people to come back to work. But if you go back right before the pandemic, 2019, there were plenty of people still working all over this country for $8, $9, $10 an hour. Bullshit wages. And minimum wage had not moved in nearly 20 years. So what I don't understand is this. People say, well, if you raise minimum wage, it's going to raise the price of everything. Well, what happens if you keep minimum wage the same for 20 years? Does it hold everything at the same price? No. Minimum wage has been the same since the 2000s, 2005, 2008, like that in many states. I think most of the Bible Belt states, minimum wage is still like $7, $8 an hour. Now, a lot of jobs are paying you more than that, but the minimum wage has not moved in many states for about 20 years. So if raising the minimum wage makes prices of goods and services go up, then if you don't raise the minimum wage, the prices of goods and services should stay the same then, right? So something's wrong. Point is, they're going to charge you more for shit no matter what they pay you. Even if they don't raise your wages whatsoever, they're going to still come up with an excuse to raise the prices of goods and services. So goddamn it, pay me then. Fuck it. If you're going to change and make more money for yourself no matter what, then damn it, I want my cut. Don't ever let somebody tell you you're better off if your wages don't go up. Fuck that. I don't have to buy what you increase the price of. I want my cut. That's how you should. That's the mindset you should. We need to this is where the left in me comes out. We need to get out of the mindset of defending people that make more money than we're ever going to get. It's like we have a mindset of defending the wealthy and telling the poor you don't need more. You got guys making $40,000 a year telling the $20,000 a year guy you don't need a raise, but telling the guy making $20 million you should be able to make whatever you want. That makes no fucking sense. Because at any given time you could become the $20,000 guy. You ain't ever gonna become the $20 million. You ain't ever going up there. You might go back down there though. I don't understand that. I don't understand how so many people who are barely getting by are telling the person that's doing an even worse job than them that they don't deserve an increase. Well, I don't want to give a burger flipper a raise because then he'll be making as much as me. Then you ain't making much more than him. You should be, instead of telling the burger flipper he don't deserve a raise, you should be telling your boss, I deserve one too. Why are you looking at the dude that's one step behind you and trying to keep him down? You should be using him as inspiration for why you need to go up too. That shit doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody help me out with that. Keith, you do realize California became what it is when it was still red, right? It's coasting off inertia. It's hitting brakes. Simon, so you're saying when who was in there? Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was the last Republican in California. You saying that California is still coasting off of the Arnold Schwarzenegger years? Okay, all right. He does not own the buildings his name is on. Are you talking about Trump? All right. Because the wage increase does have an economic effect. I don't understand why we believe that a wage increase has an effect, but keeping wages stagnant doesn't. If you don't give anybody an increase at all and prices are still going up, explain that. Like I said, they're going to come up with a way of increasing the price of goods and services, whether they give you an increase or not. So you should be demanding your cut. Minimum wage hasn't moved in like 20 years, yet everything's been going up in price. So they're going to increase the price of shit no matter what the wages are. They're going to do it anyway. They're going to always find a reason to increase the prices of goods and services. Don't let nobody tell you better off without making a high. So you think we're better if they don't pay us more? Fuck that. I'm just going to say fuck that. Carlos, my company can't find enough people to work. You can find a job if you want one. Yeah, Kay, I don't disagree with you, Kay. You can find a job if you want one. But if the job isn't paying enough to survive, it ain't a very desirable place to work. This is why during COVID, when Nancy Pelosi and Trump and all of them got together and started giving people stimulus checks, I believe it was like $600 a week or something like that. Now, listen, Pelosi, Trump, these people are buku rich, filthy rich. They're not, money is not an object for Pelosi. Money is not an object for Trump. So when everything started closing down, I personally believe this, maybe I'm speculating here, but I personally believe they looked at that $600 a week in stimulus checks like, fuck it. Just throw them a bone. Everything's closing down. Just so people can get by. Just throw them a bone. What I believe when you look at rich fucks like Nancy Pelosi and Trump is they didn't realize how low the American employees are getting paid. They never assumed that all it took was $600 a week, and that would be enough for people to say, fuck it, I'm going to stay home and not work at all, even when businesses open back up again. They didn't realize that $600 a week was actually more than what a lot of people were making while working 40 hours a week. That's why now wages have went up to encourage people to go back to work. But when the pandemic hit, people weren't making 15, 16 bucks an hour and shit like that at fast food restaurants. They were making more like 7, 8, and 9. So when they gave them folks $600 stimulus every week during the pandemic, people were actually living better with that government handout than they were going to fucking work every day. And that's why I say I don't think Trump and I don't think Congress and the powers that be realized how little American workers were earning. They like, damn, we don't give them so much money. They're not even going back to work again. That $600 was more than what he was making. Because if you're making $10 an hour, which a lot of people were making $10 an hour before the pandemic, that's only $400 a week. So that 600 is more like 15. There's a whole lot of people back in 2019 that was not making $15 an hour. And that's before taxes. $600 a week would probably be more like making 17, 18 bucks an hour. They didn't I don't think they realized that. Like, damn, we didn't think this little $600 was making that big of a deal on people. And it was. So now that's why fast food workers and all of them people are making, now you can actually get a fast food job that's making 17, 18 bucks an hour. But the problem is, because they haven't moved minimum wage, let's say we go through a recession or a depression, they legally still have the right to go back to paying you 7, 8 bucks an hour. The minimum wage in Alabama and Tennessee and all, that stuff is still in the 7s and 8s. That can come back. That actually can come back. If all of a sudden you have a surplus of employees looking for work, salaries are going to go back down. So they can bring that back. So understand that. But that is why the wages went up, is they had to encourage people to get to work. They weren't being nice. They weren't doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They couldn't find anybody to work. But those low wages can come back. Thank you for sharing honestly and truth to your viewers, says Tweety71. Thank you for tuning in. You'll be amazed how many people think I'm full of shit, but thank you, Tweety. Thank you. Yeah, you want to know why. You want to know what my American dream was. State it in the comments, DOA. Neither of those wages are viable for today's entry-level employees. Kids in my area are fucked because wages can't afford a household. But this is what happens when you fight to let the free market do whatever they want. The free market is going to do what's best for the people running the free market, not for the people that's working for it. I don't understand why there's a lot of people who think that the American worker is better off if you let the free market decide as opposed to government. As if that wasn't how the country was founded. The reason you have government involved in this shit is because the free market was fucking everybody over. Those are the people that were making children work and not giving you breaks and shit. Free market started out horrible. The reason you have government intervention is the free market was treating people like shit. I don't know why people want to go back to the free market. Why do you, I mean, you see what happened in Palestine, Ohio, where they removed regulations and they're driving a train full of dangerous chemicals with only 2 people on board. Why would you want to go back to something that is proven to be disastrous for the American worker? Like I said, I don't understand why people are so defensive in favor of big business when they actually are people that work for the folks, going against unions and shit like that. Do you not know why unions were created in the first place? Well, the unions are corrupt. Do you remember what it was like before they existed? Go back to that and tell me how great that was. I don't understand why people do that. Looking in the comments though, I'm confused. This dude talks like a leftist. I lean left. I don't believe everything about the right is bad, but I do lean left on some issues. Some other issues, like border security, I may lean a little bit more to the right. So there you go. But I do believe in free speech. So you can feel free to criticize whatever the hell you want on this program without any fear or concern of being censored. So there you go. The reason the market got so expensive is because during COVID, they saw people still had to buy whatever price they set for products. But let's go with that, Nick. That still suggests that the free market will fuck you over if nobody steps in. If you don't prevent price gouging, the free market will price gouge. This is what I'm saying. If you leave it to the free market will fuck over the people every time. Have you not heard what happens in places like Florida anytime there's a hurricane and you want to buy some plywood to board up your place? The price of plywood skyrockets. Not necessarily because there's a shortage of plywood. They're price gouging. They're price gouging. If you don't pass a law to stop it and you just leave it up to the free market, you're gonna be paying absorbent prices for shit. I don't understand why people think the free market is gonna be fair or in the best interest of the people. It never has been. There is a lengthy historical precedent, at least in this country alone, of monopolies, labor law violations, you name it. If you, discrimination, you want to throw that in there. If you leave it up to the free market, they're gonna fuck over the people every time. And people keep promoting the free market. The free market is going to do what's in the best interest of the people running the free market. They don't give a damn about anybody else. Stop this black man, says Grim Lord. What, am I on the loose, Grim? Am I on the loose? I do apologize to you folks tonight. Normally I'm taking callers. It's not just me bloviating and reading comments. I'm normally engaging with folks that are actively talking back at me, cussing me out, correcting me where I'm wrong, et cetera, et cetera. Free speech reigns here, but TikTok went down a little while ago, so it's just us in the comments. I see Devanio says, MAGA, make America great again. Ain't that what's on the hat? Make America great again. What do you think? Let me ask you guys, scale of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being we are now great. President Trump became our 47th commander-in-chief this January. Scale of 1 to 10, how close are we to being great in your opinion? How close? Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being we are great now. How close are we to being great? Type it in the comments. I want to see. Scale of 7. That's pretty good, John. But I see some people say it's 1. Melissa says we're at a 10. Okay. So does Alice. Now that's interesting. Women. Some of the females are favorable, saying it's a 10. I would expect it more men, but okay. Negative 24 says Deborah. Is the negative a typo? Or you might mean positive 24. Scale of 1 to 10. How close are we to being great? Trump has been president only about 9 or 10 months. So listen, he's still in the early portion of his presidency, but there's still plenty of room for him to make us great or to fuck us up. One way or the other. There's still plenty of room for him to do what he planned on doing. But scale of 1 to 10, how close are we to being great? No, I see David Kellogg also said a negative 24. Potential for 6 through 9. He's done the latter already. So you said he's already fucked us up? I don't know. Your name's handsome liberal, and you were expecting men. Now, I was expecting, listen, I believe Trump is an alpha male. I believe under a Trump world, men would be better off than women. That's my opinion. Because listen, the evangelicals and all, they believe in the hierarchy: God, man, woman, child. So men under that, because a lot of them believe that women's place is procreating. Women's place is um, extending the species, giving birth and things like that. That a lot of jobs they don't favor women in. I think Peter Hegseth don't want them in combat and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm surprised that there are some women in there that are saying 10. But there are women though that do believe in the hierarchy, that do believe in going back to the traditional America, where women stayed home, raised the family, and the man was the provider. There's a lot of MAGA women that do believe that. So I guess that's where the 10 would come from. Listen, some people believe that was a better time. Some people do believe that was a better time. So they have the right to believe that. What are you both talking about? I give all the glory to God. Jesus lights my path and walks with me continuously. Even though I am a sinner, I can only hope the same for you. Thank you, Mr. Smarty Pants. I'll certainly accept that. I appreciate that. We are on our way to a depression, but it's not Trump's fault. I've been saying depression is around the corner since December 2021. Well, Nazario, if you're saying we're headed to a depression, even though you're suggesting it's not Trump's fault, you're clearly saying it's progressing under Trump's watch. So if what you're saying is accurate, then you are suggesting that Trump is not making America great again. You're suggesting that America is floundering under Trump, is going in the wrong direction. Now you're indicating that it may have started before he became president, but you're certainly saying it's progressing even though he's in the office. So that's not making the country great again. That's saying that the country is falling apart under your watch, Mr. President. That can't be right. Depression meant in the 1920s that there was no money to go around. When I see it, the opposite, there's more money now than ever to go around. You think well, there's plenty of money to go around, but it's not falling in most people's hands. I don't know about that one, Sean. I don't know about that one. Trump fucked up America like 10 times over, says handsome stubby fingers. Damn. You think it's that bad already? You think tell me how. Listen, I don't favor everything Trump has done, but he fucked over America 10 times over. That's pretty strong language, handsome stubby fingers. The free market is and has always been in the best interest of the companies. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%. And I see Siamese says also household stubby. It has nothing to do with policy. It has to do with market manipulation. Well, that's what the free market is going to do. They're going to try to manipulate the market in their favor. Listen, you can think about the Rockefellers or who else. I'm reading Bill O'Reilly's. Bill O'Reilly has a book called Confronting Evil out right now. It's a bestseller. And he has a chapter in there about the robber barons. He covers evil figures throughout history. It starts out with Caligula, then it goes on to Genghis Khan, and I think who's next? Henry VIII. People who killed and murdered tons of people. And then after Henry VIII, he goes into the era of slavery, and he talks about two individuals in this country that are responsible for trafficking over 1 million black people, two white guys. I forgot their names. History doesn't tell you about that in schools, but he covers that in the book. Then he talks about the guy who actually founded the Ku Klux Klan. Once again, that name is not very well mentioned either. And he talks about all the acts of terrorism they done. Then he goes on to Stalin and Hitler and Putin and all. But it's a good book. But it is talking about there's a chapter on robber barons. And all of the Rockefeller, I think Rockefeller's one of them. What is the other guy? Not J.D. Wentworth. I cannot think of the guy's name, but it's still a well-known name in financial circles. Oh, wow, if I could think of it. But he covers this and all of the labor laws and people in America that have died because of this person. Oh, wow. If I said the name, you would know right off the bat because the name is still well known in the banking industry. But this individual used to own a ton of companies and didn't give a shit about workers, people dying in coal mines and shit all over the country. So people that are evil. The book is titled Confronting Evil. And those is two of them in there. I cannot think of their names, but yeah, if I had it down here, I would tell you. But anyway, moving on. Let me go on with the program. I do have one question. Why wouldn't Trump want to release the Epstein files? Because they're not going to be in his favor. I think it should be apparent that the Epstein files either contains nefarious acts by President Trump or someone that he cares about. He is stalling and making an effort to prevent that information from coming out because it will either be hurtful to him or someone he cares about. It's as simple as that. He ran on being a transparent president. Most folks believe when he became president, he would make sure we knew what the Democrats were not releasing in regards to the Epstein stuff. And he once he became president, he's done everything to prevent that. Up to and including actually getting on social media and saying, stop talking about Epstein. It's pretty clear he does not want that information to come out. So it's either he himself has either violated the innocence of some young women or he knows someone that has and he's protecting them. That's my personal opinion on it. It's people, both Democrats and Trump's are friendly with. Could be. Listen, in my opinion, though, even if you're not a pedo, if you're protecting one, you're no better. If you're protecting someone that is abusing children, to me, you're just as trashy as they are. You don't get a pass for doing that. You're just as bad. And Jay Shaw said that's just an opinion. Yeah, could be. That's a wild statement with a last name as Hassan. What are you coming on? Freddy Krueger. You're using the name Freddy Krueger. You're commenting on him having the last name of Hassan. Wow. You said, so Trump should go to prison. Trump is not going to prison. Get over that. I'll tell you this. I tend to believe that MAGA, let's say Trump, it turned out that Trump did do something wrong to a minor. I think most of MAGA see it as the 90-10 rule. 90% of what Trump has done has been good for America. I'm talking from a MAGA standpoint. 90% of things that Trump has done has been great for this country. I'm not going to throw him under the bus for the other 10%. If that 10% happens to be something coming out of the Epstein files or what, I'm not going to risk hurting a guy that's been really good for getting this country on track and risk having a liberal like Kamala Harris or somebody get back in office. As bad as what may be in there, I'm willing to overlook that because I think putting another liberal in would be worse. That's how I think MAGA sees this. So the point I'm making is the Epstein files are not going to hurt Trump in the eyes of MAGA. Not to any significant degree. It's not going to hurt him. Middle of Fifth Avenue. You've heard that. You've heard that statement. Middle of Fifth Avenue. I believe that applies in this case. Middle of Fifth Avenue. So not to mention, there's always the blame game. No matter what's in the Epstein files, you can always say the women that made the accusations have no credibility. You can always say the FBI was not trustworthy in their investigation that produced the Epstein files. You can criticize all of those entities too, and that'll probably end up happening. I mean, there's a whole lot of women that have accused President Trump of sexual assault. MAGA just doesn't believe the women. The women are in it for the money. The women are in it because they're with the deep state or something like that. So and that would happen with the Epstein files getting released. You attack the credibility of the women. You attack the credibility of the FBI that produced the report. And that would be the end of it. 90-10 rule. Anyway, looking in the comments, some people move off emotion. Others move off resilience. True. Do you know what a YN is? Yes, I'm an ON. How about that? Yes, I know what a YN is. I'm an ON. We already know the truth. Man openly just after his own daughter. Yikes. Yikes. Well, he did. Trump has said some things in regards to children and shit like that, that it should be suspect. Listen, if I'm always joking about robbing banks and shit like that, and all of a sudden the police suggest that I robbed a bank, it's kind of believable that I might have had something to do with it. He's always talking about that shit. I mean, Trump is always talking about being with minors and shit like that. If it wasn't my daughter, I would be dating her. And Lindsay Lohan at like 17 is hot in bed and shit. I mean, dude was like 60 years old talking about fucking Lindsay Lohan. I mean, he said a whole lot of things that got to be overlooked. He passed like a 10, 11-year-old girl on the escalator and said that in 10 years I'll be dating her. He's made a lot of statements that you got to overlook to say that this guy ain't never did nothing like that. I like him young. I mean, listen, maybe he's 100% innocent, but he's made some very suspect sounding statements. Can't defend supporting Trump. He's disgusting, says Raisdang. Well, I can understand why people would vote for Trump. I mean, there's things about the left that don't resonate with people. So, I mean, listen, I'm not saying the guy's disgusting or not. It's a different conversation, but depends. Making excuses for pedos, says Tia. Well, just telling you, you are make of a lot of accusations. Melissa, I didn't make a single accusation. I said this is what the man said. He stated that Lindsay Lohan would likely be good in bed. He was talking to Howard Stern. Lindsay Lohan was like 16 or 17 years old at the time. Trump was probably like, what, 50, 60? He said that. There's a video of him passing a very young girl on an escalator saying that I'll be dating her in 10 years. It's not an accusation. He said that. He actually said that if she was not my daughter, I'd be dating her. Would his daughter sit on his lap or sit next to him? It's not an accusation. He said this stuff. I mean, listen, let me ask it to you this way. You guys can type in the comments yes or no or fuck off or whatever you want to type. But let me ask you, if you were about to, you're looking at a daycare center, some place to leave your child, and one of the employees had all of the same statements that Trump has made, would you feel comfortable leaving your child with him? I mean, this is stuff he said. These aren't accusations. These are actual quotes. I can bring a lot of this stuff up on the internet and show you him saying it. These are actual quotes. Talk about, he was asked on The View, what do you and your daughter have in common? He said sex. What the hell? Where does that come from? So these ain't accusations. The man actually said this stuff. Would you feel comfortable leaving your child with an adult that talks? Let's say that the kid's teacher, you knew the teacher made statements like that. Would you be okay with your kid going on a field trip with other students with that teacher, or a Boy Scout, Girl Scout coach or something? Would you be okay with your child being around an adult that talks like that? Or is it so wrong to even mention Trump at all that any type of criticism against him whatsoever is just flat out un-American? Because I'm quoting the guy. I'm not accusing him of shit. I'm quoting the guy. My daughter is 26 and I do not want Trump in the same state as her, says Neeson. Wow. Okay, so you dislike Trump or not? Brian Torres. I don't hate the guy. I favor his border. I favor him protecting our border. Listen, there's a few things he's done that I favor, but there's a lot of things he's done that I disagree with. If that amounts to me not liking him or what, I don't like some of his policies. I don't know the guy specifically, but some of the things he says, no, I don't like him. I don't like the enjoyment of trolling, for instance. I know Democrats say bad things about Trump, but I believe that somebody has to be at the fucking top. Yeah, Democrats hate Republicans, Republicans hate Democrats. But the leader of the country shouldn't be in the mud with them. That's my opinion. I know the right disagrees with that. You like Trump sticking it to the liberals, trolling, insulting, whatever. I don't think that the president should be involved in that. Leave that up to Sean Hannity, the late Rush Limbaugh, people like that. You got henchmen out there for that shit. The president shouldn't be involved in that, in my opinion. I know the right disagrees, but I also feel confident that if a liberal was doing as much trolling as Trump, the right wouldn't like it. Yeah, Biden said an island of garbage. Hillary Clinton said deplorables. But they, when you talk about them, it's like one thing they said. Trump's doing this shit like every week. Like every other fucking week he's doing it. I think there should be somebody, there has to be sanity somewhere. And I don't believe if you're operating under divisive leadership, the country has any hope of uniting. I don't think that works anywhere. I think if you got a divisive general, the soldiers are going to be divided. I think leadership and unity starts at the top. If the top is divisive, the rest of the people are going to be that way as well. So, I mean, Trump's belief is that the liberals fucked him over when he was a citizen. They tried to lock him up. They tried to make him go bankrupt. They pissed him off. And now that he is in the White House, his goal is revenge. I understand it, but you're destroying the country to get that satisfaction. You are literally destroying the country to enact that revenge. So I'll leave it like that. People evolve, so does Trump. You don't fucking evolve at 80, Marissa. Nobody, you ever heard of an old dog new tricks? You don't evolve at 80. The guy is 80 years old next year. The time for evolving is over with. I'm too old to be fucking evolving. You don't evolve at 80. That ain't gonna happen. But it's funny though. It's funny. Nobody's evolving at 80. You're literally at the top of the pyramid. You got infinite wealth, generational wealth. All your kids are super rich. Your grandkids are guaranteed to be super rich. Your great grandkids are guaranteed to be super rich. You're in the history books. You're the most powerful man on earth. You don't have a reason to evolve. Fuck them all. That's kind of the mindset he has. Fuck them all. Ain't shit you can do. So he's not going to evolve. There's no evolving going to happen. He ain't sitting in prison hoping to get paroled and now, well, let's see if you learned your lesson and evolve. That ain't happening. He ain't going to evolve. He going to get worse at what he's doing. Will says your mom's in the history books. True, because she's dead. That's a wild assumption from your view. Did you evolve at 80? It's my view that you don't evolve at 80 is a wild assumption. You know a whole lot of 80-year-olds, where they go out and learn how to code. They go ahead and learn rap music and all that, They just evolve at 80. I don't see it. I don't see it. President Donald J. Trump worked hard his whole life, says Denise. I don't know. I think he worked smart. I don't know if he worked hard. I think he worked smart. I think he was very good at knowing the system. I mean, listen, he worked as a real estate mogul in a city like New York, very corrupt, mafia-driven city. He had a very wealthy start on life from his dad, so you got enough money to throw around to the right guys, you can make anything. Listen, let me just be clear with you. Regardless of whether Trump was working hard, working smart, whatever kind of businessman he was, if you were able to start out ahead of the race as far as President Trump is, you might be a billionaire too. He ain't exactly writing songs bragging that he started from the bottom now. Yeah. Motherfucker started out in the 1%. He started out in the 1%. Now, he's obviously made a lot more money off of that, but he started out super rich. So you or I don't have anywhere near all the doors open to us as he did at the age of 20. He had a father that was super wealthy and well-known, Frank Trump or whatever his name was, throughout New York. So banks are going to be willing to work with him because we know your father. Your father called us and told us. So we're gonna go ahead. I mean, you got all of this shit. And listen, I know some of my beloved MAGA's not gonna like what I'm about to say right now, but I'm gonna throw it in there. Even if I had Trump's dad with Trump's money, I wouldn't have had Trump's opportunities just because of my skin color back then. So he had all of the advantages. A lot of women would not have been given Trump's opportunities because they're women. He had, like, for instance, he went to the Wharton School of Finance. You think they would have let me in back then? You think I would have been able to get in there? I mean, so the guy literally is a walking advantage. So I'm not saying he's not a smart businessman. I'm not saying he hasn't made some good moves in life, but he certainly started out way ahead of the game. Way ahead of the game. And Jisha said, I'm assuming stuff. So I'm assuming that I could have went to the Wharton School of Finance and all that. Banks in New York would have loaned my black ass money. I'm just assuming. All right. I'm assuming. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. I'm sure the Wharton School of Finance, Trump's graduating class was very diverse. Bunch of women and Mexicans and men and black men in there. I'm sure. I'm just assuming. All right. He's been a predator for 60 years. That won't change. Thunder Palace, really? You think he's been a predator for 60? What is he, 79? You think he's been a predator since he was 19? I don't know about that. Listen, when he was hanging around Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion, I don't think he would have been a predator back then, would he not? He was just banging really hot chicks. They were young. Excuse me, they were young, but I don't think they were illegally young. I don't know. 60 years, that's a long time. That's a lot straight from hell, says Denise. Remember when they had those Obama is the Antichrist videos on YouTube back in the day? But yeah, they said a lot of awful shit about Obama. In fact, there was a guy who had a book. I used to listen to John Gibson and Tom Sullivan on Fox News, and there used to be a commercial they were promoting called Obama's Third Term. Somebody had wrote a book talking about Obama was going to try to run for a third term and shit like that. Oh my God, that term didn't age well. I mean, Trump is now selling 2028 hats, and the right is suddenly quiet about it. Sean Hannity was calling Obama the Messiah and all of that shit. You got motherfuckers painting pictures with Trump with Jesus tapping them on the shoulder. They ain't saying nothing about it now. But when Obama was in office, oh my God, he the chosen one. It was kind of crazy. Weeder Rambo says, here's an honest interpretation of Trump's political behavior. It's WWE wrestling. Babyface turning heel, etc. It's WWE drama. You know, you kind of sound like a campaigning version of Nikki Haley. She stated that when she was campaigning against Trump, she stated that you don't replace Democratic chaos with Republican chaos. That's what she was saying about Trump. Like, the Democrats suck, but you don't replace the chaos that the Democrats are doing with Republican chaos. Some would say that she had a point because things are kind of chaotic now, but she did later on endorse Trump. Trump referred to her as bird brain. Is there a telling Obama to run for president again if Donald Trump runs is going to do? I don't think Obama wants to run. You know, Michelle Obama made it clear she didn't want to be involved in politics. I think one of Obama's children, I think I heard that they changed their name because they didn't want to be listen, the Obama name is obviously very recognizable in America. I mean, you go somewhere and write down Obama. Are you related to the former? I mean, you had never heard that name before. So I don't know if Obama wants to run again. I mean, listen, just like with Trump, even though Obama doesn't have the money of Trump, but he still has plenty of money to last him for the rest of his life. His kids are set. His grandkids are set. Why get back into that? That's a dirty game. I mean, now Trump likes that shit. As someone just talked about, Trump likes the drama. I don't know if Obama likes that. So I don't even if Obama could run again, I don't know if he would want to do it. I don't know if he would want to do it. Because Michelle Obama would have been very competitive, and she chose not to. She would have been more competitive than Kamala Harris for certain, and she chose not to do it. I don't know. Obama's out there surfing and enjoying life. just spending money everywhere. Like shit, you got Secret Service protection for life? Do you want to get involved in that shit again? It's a very stressful job. So Trump, on the other hand, running for a second term, some would argue that some of the motivation of him running was because he was running from the law. I mean, let's be clear. If Trump had not been reelected, there's a good chance he may be in jail right now. Very good chance he would be significantly less financially set right now. They were coming after him hard. I mean, he would still be dealing with Jack Smith probably. I don't know what the 34 felonies would have culminated into, but at the very least, it would have been a huge fine. I mean, Letitia James got him on the hook for how much did she end up winning? Now, I know they've been throwing all that shit out now that he's president, but if he didn't win, that stuff would have prevailed. E. Jean Carroll's case was 80-some million. Letitia James' case was like 400. I think Letitia James' case was so high that the amount he was ordered to pay while appealing it was increasing at like $100,000 some odd dollars a day. All of that stuff would have ended up coming to fruition if he had lost. So he had a reason to become president above and beyond doing what's best for the country. He was also, it really was doing what's best for him as well. I mean, that got him out of a lot of shit because we don't know what Jack Smith was going to produce, but there were more cases coming after him. We don't know what was coming out of that shit. Jack Smith's goal was to prove that Trump tried to steal the election. And the only way he could prove it was to show that Trump knew he lost the election when January 6th took place and all of that. And of course, he's done that.
The 2024 election, Donald Trump has finally admitted that he did, in fact, lose the 2020 race to now President Joe Biden.
I became president. And then the second time, I got millions more votes than I got the first time. So I was told if I got 63 million, which is what I got the first time, you would win. You can't not win. And I got millions of more votes than that, and lost by a whisker.
Lost by a whisker. We should have noted.
So he stated he lost he knew he lost. I mean, that's what he said. Now he's making crazy money selling pardon since Thunder Palace. Look, the guy's making more money than anyone could ever dream. I mean, but yeah, I mean, that would have came out in Jack Smith's trial. That this guy on January 6th, this guy knew he lost. By the way, I will just say this. What made him think he won? Like everybody that's responsible for telling you what happened in the 2020 election are all telling you lost. I mentioned earlier in the program that his attorney general, William P. Barr, or Bill Barr, I think his name is, what they call him Bill, whatever. His top cop, this guy right here, told in this book, he tells you that Trump's election fraud claims are quote unquote bullshit. He's the guy that Trump would have sent to investigate whether there were ballots in rivers or dead people voting or illegal immigrants, all of the crimes, the criminal ways to vote. Your top cop would be the one that looked into them. He looked into them and said those claims of election fraud were bullshit. So why do you still think you won? Everybody that's responsible for telling you the truth or telling you lost. Your own vice president is telling you lost. Why won't you accept reality? I mean, it's like if a cop tells you you're doing 30 miles over the limit, so I'm going to charge you with reckless driving and arrest you. Well, can I see your radar detector? Could you call a supervisor? At some point, you got to accept the truth. You can't, no matter who tells me, I'm not going to believe them. I was only driving 2 miles over the limit. I don't care who tells me I'm not going to. Like, everybody's telling you lost. Why are you still suggesting you won? Why are all of these people telling you lost? And that's where the case is. Now he's making, in regards to making crazy money selling pardons. Now, that was part of the show we talked about earlier, is that President Trump pardoned this, what is it, ByteDance or whatever, the founder of this guy, cryptocurrency guy. And his family, the Trump family, is financially connected to this guy. They got some kind of $2 billion crypto deal between Trump's family and this guy. I think is a Chinese guy. They call him CZ. I don't. It's acronyms for his last name is Zhao, ZHAO. I can't even pronounce the first name. But anyway, this guy has a crypto company, and he invested in Trump's crypto. Trump's family's working with the guy. This guy was convicted of money laundering. Big surprise. You want to launder money. Cryptocurrency is probably a really good way to do that because nobody knows what's moving back and forth. Anyway, Trump pardoned this guy last week. That this guy pled guilty to money laundering, so he admitted he was doing it. Trump pardoned the guy, and the 60 Minutes interview Trump had yesterday or whatever the other day, he was questioned about this guy. Trump's response is, I don't even know who this guy is. I didn't know who he was. Now the obvious question is, why would you pardon a guy and you don't know who he is? How did you, anybody you pardon, you should be able to at least give a few sentences on what they did, whether it was a bullshit charge, maybe they got overcharged. You should be able to give some kind of quick description on why you chose to pardon them. You pardon somebody that you don't even know who they are. That makes no sense at all. But he did say that. He said, I don't know. Jay Shah said his sons told him you said his sons told him the facts. Okay, then you know who he is then. If your sons told you to pardon him, you had to ask your son some questions, right? Okay, who is he? What is he in there for? You should be able to relay those answers to the journalists at 60 Minutes, okay? I didn't have a lot of relations with him, but my child thought he got railroaded, and I really take heed into what Don Jr. says. Don Jr. has never steered me wrong. He told me this guy's been mistreated. I looked into it. I didn't like what I seen, so I went ahead and gave a pardon. I don't know who he is. It makes no sense at all. So, and by the way, if this guy ends up committing another huge white-collar crime or something like that again, not only is Trump on the hook for it, then I guess Don Jr. or whoever one of his sons, Eric or whoever, spoke on this guy's behalf, they should be held accountable for it too. But his sons are the people that are part of the investment with this guy. So obviously his sons are going to tell him to pardon him, which actually makes his sons now look very corrupt. If you're going to bring up his sons, now you're making his sons look corrupt. This guy's $2 billion in cahoots with your children. Makes sense that they would tell you to pardon them. This shit is corrupt. Do you not see that? I will just say this too, by the way. There's no way in hell MAGA, I'm talking to my beloved MAGA, there's no way in hell MAGA would be quiet if this same event took place with Obama, Hillary Clinton, or Joe Biden at the helm. You see how much flack Hunter Biden took? His Burisma bullshit. These people are making multiples of what Hunter Biden. The fucking jet from Qatar is probably worth more than Hunter Biden's entire portfolio. Just that aircraft. And they were all over Hunter Biden, but we got reasons for why Trump doing it ain't that bad. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I would like to know what's really going on with Charlie Kirk's wife and J.D. Vance. If Melania did this, I don't know. Listen, I can't speak on the late Charlie Kirk. Well, I guess this ain't even about late Charlie Kirk because he might be turning over in his grave with the way things are looking. But here is the skinny what people are suggesting. And something happened recently that kind of backs it up, and I'll tell you what that is. But they're suggesting that somehow, some way, MAGA might not be favorable to J.D. Vance replacing Trump with a wife of Indian descent or whatever the case may be. She's not, she's not Anglo-Saxon. Let's go with that. She's not an evangelical. She's not a Christian. She doesn't fit the bill. So many are suggesting that Erica Kirk does fit the bill. She does fit the bill. She checks off every mark. She's Anglo-Saxon, white, or whatever you want to say. She's Christian. She's American-born. She checks off every mark. So some people are suggesting that they're trying to pair up JD Vance and Erica Kirk. I don't know. I don't know. But I will say this: the visual images of them hugging each other and Erica Kirk coming on stage glowing, stating that Charlie Kirk, or better yet, JD Vance reminds her of her husband and stuff. It ain't crossing the line, but it's raising eyebrows. It like, what the fuck? I get where people are. I get why people are doing it. Now, maybe they're trolling. There's no, look, would Erica Kirk do something like that? I don't know. But she does seem to be doing quite well in Charlie Kirk's recent absence. She don't seem to be deep in mourning of any sorts. She seemed to have recuperated pretty nicely. Will she end up replacing him with JD Vance? I don't know. I hope not. But you hugging a man and you putting your hands in his head and shit. Who does that? It is a little bit interesting to see the images that are coming out. So we'll leave it at that. Trump ain't shit. Says Handsome Stubby Fingers. He says, do you think Charlie Kirk's wife is a cult leader, alien leader, maybe something darker to poisoning JD Vance? No, I don't think that. I don't think that. Look, when she actually gave her first speech in regards to losing Kirk and, the last moment she spent with him and things like that, some would argue it didn't seem authentic. Some suggested that she was crying and the tears did not come out the eyes. I didn't see any myself. To me, she reminds me of, how many of you folks, now this is Generation X type shit. How many of you folks remember Tammy and Jimmy Faye Baker? Some of you guys may remember them from the 80s. Something like that. When you hear the speaking, she kind of reminds me of, because and by the way, they were evangelicals as well. Tammy and Jimmy Faye, Tammy Faye Baker, what were they? Something like that. But she kind of reminds me of that. And just like some folks suggest that Kamala Harris did not come across as authentic, that's my view of Erica Kirk. She doesn't come across as authentic. She just doesn't. That's me. I could be completely wrong. I'm willing to admit that. But her mourning, her talking about the events, it just doesn't appear authentic. Taking pictures, actual video of you mourning over the body of Kirk. Who does that? That didn't look authentic. I mean, you got Charlie Kirk. He's gone. He's laying there in his full demise, and she's crying and filming it. I don't know. She doesn't come across as authentic to me. She comes across as somebody who's trying to get paid. That's me. That's my opinion. You are entitled to disagree with that. This is a free speech program. But to me, you don't see anybody hardly doing that. That's some TMZ paparazzi type shit. You don't do that to your husband. I mean, you see Charlie Kirk's hands and you can tell he's been embalmed and shit. Why would you do that? I don't know. That, to me, she doesn't come across as authentic. JD ain't cheating. Simple Fidelis. No, JD Vance is. Oh, you saying JD Vance ain't cheating? Rita Rabble. I don't know. And that would look bad. But there is a video out there of Ann Coulter. I mean, you remember her talking about she would never vote for Vivek Ramaswamy because he's Indian and he's not Anglo-Saxon and he's not Christian. So that does exist on the right side of the aisle. And by the way, what I talked about, something else came out. Apparently, JD Vance posted a picture of him and his kids on X. A lot of racism was in the comments. So that came, I read on that earlier today. A lot of racism was in the comments. So some people were suggested that Vivek Ramaswamy never had a real chance of becoming president due to his own heritage. because he's the same heritage as Kirk's wife. He's also Indian. We can talk about it, we can ignore it, but keep in mind there's been 4 candidates for president recently. While people say all the time you bring race up in every damn thing, it came up in all of their cases. 4 candidates of color ran for office recently, and race played a part in all of them. Those candidates would obviously be Barack Obama. Kamala Harris from Jamaica and India became a big deal. Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Nimrod Haley. All 4 of them, 2 Republicans, 2 liberals. When they ran for office, race suddenly became a huge issue. So for people who say race don't exist, it does. It does. I mean, the comments that were aimed at Vivek and Nikki Haley were pretty fucking bad, even though they're on the right. And of course, obviously, when it came to Obama and Kamala Harris, it was even worse. I mean, Kamala, cum dumpster, and obviously Obama, they were putting pictures of Obama with ropes and shit. But the comments aimed at Nikki Haley were not good either. The comments aimed at Vivek Ramaswamy weren't even that great. So for people who suggested race don't play a part, open your eyes. First ladies don't factor in my opinion. JD is a solid front runner for 2028. What's your vote on JD versus Gavin Newsom? Wow. I got to hear what they stand for, but listen, JD Vance, for somebody like myself that leans left, JD Vance, I'm going to not favor JD Vance because I don't see him as objective. I believe, for instance, during the 2020 election, I believe JD Vance would have did what Trump said and refused to certify the election. I don't see JD Vance as an objectionable politician. I see him as a Trump loyalist. So I'm going to look at loyalists as if they are a carbon copy of who they are loyal to, which means you don't have your own identity. JD Vance stated that Trump is Hitler-like. Look where he's at now. So if that kind of shit comes out on Gavin Newsom, I'll hold Gavin Newsom accountable as well. But JD Vance said some pretty awful shit about Trump. Look where he's at now. Charlie Kirk's wife reminds me of Children of the Corn. I haven't seen that movie. Like, you can't resist. You can't resist that there's something darker there. Yikes. That's the stuff you think is yikes. First lady, yeah. So if you say first ladies don't factor in, I don't buy that. I think they do. I think first ladies do factor in. Listen, they called Michelle Michael. Jackie Onassis was known as one of the most classiest first ladies. First ladies matter. They do matter. You're representing the country. I don't buy the notion that first ladies don't factor in. I don't believe that. Y'all forget JD called Trump the modern day Hitler. Yeah, there you go. You're saying it too, Ryan. Yeah. They made a song on it. He's very Hitler-like. I'm a never Trump guy is what he said. I mean, now look where he's at. So to me, JD Vance comes across as, and listen, I do know when politicians run against each other, they say awful shit, and then they sometimes end up squashing it to be in each other's campaign. Because remember, Kamala Harris was trying to suggest that Biden was a racist. But she didn't go as far as JD Vance. JD Vance literally said the guy's Hitler-like. That's pretty fucking bad to be his VP. That's pretty fucking bad to say that about a guy. So that's probably one of the worst things you can say about a white dude is that he's Hitler. So I don't know. To me, JD Vance does not come across as authentic for doing something like that. Michael pressing my pants. Richard, I see you there trying to suggest that Michelle Obama has a lump in her pants. Look. There's lumps in Trump's pants. They're starting to show videos and images now that suggest that Trump is wearing some kind of colostomy bag or something to catch urine in his pants. So if you're going to point to lumps in pants, it's going to come up. JD Vance wears eyeliner that says a lot. He told his wife, I need that ball gag. She said no, he has to go to the next step. Well, shit, listen. Erica Kirk is on the incline. I mean, she would be down for whatever. I mean, I don't want to disgrace the man's wife, but listen, you're gonna get a lot of cooperation from Erica Kirk right now. She wants to climb. Whereas I don't know what Miss Vance is doing, but Erica Kirk would be down. I think she would be down for the program. Yellow said, "Oh Lord, listen. Sometimes you might want a little extra or something like that." Anyway, looking in the comments, if she is a man, that's the finest trans I've ever seen. No, that ain't. I'm going to disagree with you there, Spitfire. I've seen some transgender people that look you would not fucking know. As what is his name? The NSYNC guy. Justin Timberlake once said in a song, "The spotlights don't do you justice." There are some trans women that if they did not tell you they were trans, you would not know. You would absolutely not know. Michelle Obama is absolutely not the finest looking trans women. I've seen some people like, shit, this would get me in trouble. God damn, really? So, yeah, it's some people out there that really can pass. They don't all look like Caitlyn Jenner. That's what people think. I don't want to transit, in the bathroom with my kid, and I would go in there and whip his ass. You won't know. You absolutely won't know. They don't all look like Caitlyn Jenner. They don't all look like that. VD and Kirk's cheating with each other. Who is VD? You mean JD? What are you saying there, V-Main? VD and Kirk's cheating with each other. I don't get that. Jerry Springer passed away. Doesn't mean his show stopped. Now, Steve is still on there. Steve still has a show. Steve. Those shows are not as common as they used to be, though. I mean, now you got shit like Jennifer Hudson, and recent times, I think, what is the Jennifer Hudson is a American Idol. The other girl, too, is from American Idol. What is the girl's name? She lost a lot of weight recently. She was the first winner of American Idol. I can't think of her name, but you got them folks running shows now. Steve Harvey had a show recently. The shows are a lot more calmer, more closer to like what Oprah used to run. But the days of Maury Povich and Jenny Jones and Ricky Lake, that type of talk show, those seem to be on the out. They made for some good they were entertaining when they were around. What Ricky Lake? What is the name of the girl who won the American Idol? She's a big time singer now. She has her own talk show. What is her name? Kelly Clarkson. Yeah, there you go. Trey Vito. Yeah, Kelly Clarkson. So the shows now are more calmer. You don't have all of that wild shit like you had during the Springer and, as you say, Ricky Lake and Jenny Jones, and who else was out doing that era? Maury Povich made a killing with the You're Not the Father shows. All that. Yeah, it's not as many of those out anymore. Is trans the most pressing subject? Instead of state of the economy, I mean, he did run on lowering prices, but the opposite just happened because of terror. Well, trans is a very pressing subject for the right. The right believe that the Democrats are trying to make everybody trans. So it was a very pressing subject for the right. I don't know anybody that's trans. I've never known anybody that's trans. But apparently people on the right thought everybody knew him. So it was very pressing for people on the right. Montel, my family was on an episode. Yeah, Montel Williams. Is he alive still? Is he still alive? He was a Navy pilot. Robin Stanler, yes, EK intro was not. I don't get what you're saying. The prices are going up. Yeah, the economy, you don't hear Trump bragging about the economy. Trump takes credit for every good thing he does. There's a reason why he's not bragging about the prices of groceries. Because if grocery prices were going down, he would be bragging about it. So that's a clear-cut admission that he realizes right now the economy is not going well. You factor in the economy with people losing jobs and shit like that, this might not be a good Christmas for a lot of Americans. Certainly if the government don't open up in any time soon. It's at, I think it's, midnight now in some parts of the country. So today actually ties now, because I got day 34 on the monitor behind me, but today officially ties the longest shutdown in U.S. history. So Trump currently has a tie for first place. Other notables, Obama, I think is like the fifth longest shutdown. I think was under Obama. It was like 16 days or something like that. There was one under Jimmy Carter. I think he has the third place now. Now that Trump has 1 and 2, I think the third place is Jimmy Carter. And Bill Clinton, I think, is in there. So those are the other ones. But Trump has number 1 and 2. And Trump's is double what Obama's is. More than double. More than double. And this one might go into the 40s. I mean, it's easy to imagine this shutdown not ending this week. So if it's at day 35 on Tuesday, 6, 7, and 8 will be up to Friday. So then 9 and 40. So it'll be 41 on Monday. This time next week, it'll be 40. That could easily happen. That could easily happen under Trump because he ain't doing shit to get them to work together. It's going to be up to basically the Democrats just bowing down. That's the only way the government's going. There's 2 ways the government's going to end up back and running. Either the Republicans are going to exercise the nuclear option, where they can say fuck the Democrats and do it on their own, or the Democrats are going to have to bow. Trump is not going to do anything in regards to working with the Democrats, period. So they're going to have to just say fuck it, we'll just go ahead and do it for the sake of the country, because Trump is, for the most part, insulting and trolling the Democrats at every whim, which is why I'm suggesting there's no incentive at all if you're a Democrat to work with Trump. There's zero incentive. I mean, he's saying everything awful he can about you. Why would you? I don't see it. And to me, that makes no sense because, listen, even if the Democrats suck, even if the Democrats are bad for America, right now you kind of need them to get the government back open. Can you temporarily pause the bullshit until the government's back? Is this the time right now to be trolling and sending pictures of people with sombrero hats and shit on? Well, I wanted to tell a joke. I know everybody's kind of out of work and hurting for cash, but I thought right now would be a good time to tell a joke. I don't get it, but I know the right loves that kind of shit. So here we are. You think Trump gives a rat ass about the consequences of his pardons? Apparently not. I want to say, yeah, I'm trying to come up with another side of it, but no, I don't think he cares. I mean, because to me, pardoning George Santos, the disgraced congressman, that was one of the worst. To me, pardoning the disgraced congressman George Santos and probably the January 6th participants, to me, are 2 of the worst pardons because you didn't even vet. Remember Obama with the open borders? You're letting people out of insane asylums. You're letting people out of prisons. You're not even vetting who you're letting. He didn't even vet who he pardoned on January 6th. Just fucking let them all out. He treated those who were incarcerated for January 6th or facing justice for January 6th the same way he suggests Biden treated the border. Just opened it up. Fuck it, let them out. And just like there is a suggestion that people that Biden let in the country have went on to commit felonies in this country, some of the people he pardoned went on to commit major felonies. In fact, one of them is now being detained by the FBI because he actually was threatening political violence. He was plotting to kill Hakeem Jeffries. So, and I'm trying to get this charger in here. There we go. So, yeah, to me, his January 6th pardons were terrible. What you do is you go through the people who were arrested and charged on January 6th, people who were overcharged, people who were let in, people who didn't even go in the Capitol building that shouldn't have been charged to begin with. Okay, you can pardon some of them folks. But you actually do itemize who the fuck you're letting out. He didn't do that. Everybody who got arrested, clear them. All of them. No matter what they were doing. Smear shit on Nancy Pelosi's office, who gives a fuck? Let them out. That's where I think he got it wrong. So I don't favor that at all. One January 6th are unalived by a cop. You're talking about, what is her name? Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt. Look, there is a notion of playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes. What Ashley Babbitt did, if she wasn't MAGA, if she wasn't doing it on behalf of Trump, MAGA would say she fucked around and found out. MAGA would be 100% behind referring to her death as justified if it was not on behalf of Trump. Can you imagine a Black Lives Matter protest where the protesters are so pissed off with cops they don't surround it, City Hall in some major city, and as opposed to Ashley Babbitt going through a broken window, imagine this Queen Latifah doing that. How do you think MAGA would view that? You think they would be saying it was unjustified? I don't think no. I think not. I think they would be saying she fucked around and found out. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate you guys tuning in when my TikTok went down. Feel free to follow the program if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on X, and of course, if you happen to be watching on Instagram, give your boy a follow, give your boy a sub if you're watching on YouTube. Tomorrow, we will have the show as normal. We will be taking callers. It won't just be me talking to you like this. And of course, the show will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety and always, without a doubt, free speech. Everyone gets to speak regardless of your political affiliation. That's how we do it. Queen Latifah is awesome, says Jay Shaw. Well, I'm just simply saying, if she was doing what Ashley Babbitt was doing in the name of Black Lives Matter, they wouldn't defend it. It's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. Give your boy a sub. I'll catch you guys. Manana.